What's up, sassy gamers? Today is October 27th, 2021, and this is Got Our Attention Podcast. And I'm here, obviously, with the normal crew. We've got Kelly, Brian, and Bruno. And we have a very, very special guest with us today, also the president of Loan Shark Games, Mike Selinker. So how's it going?
I dispute the normal part of that description.
I mean, it's, it is a thing.
I don't think you guys are the normal crew.
No.
Depends on how you ask.
This man knows what's up.
I'm pretty sure I'm not on that podcast.
That's awesome. Well, so to kind of just jump right in this, I know we know who you are, but maybe some people out there may not know who you are. And instead of saying
your federal arrest records have been made public,
right? But... So I guess answer this question is: who is Mike Selinker?
Why is Mike Selinker?
And where were you on June 7th of?
Yeah, seriously. No, I'm Mike Selinker. I am the president of Loan Shark Games. You may know some of my games. They may be on your shelves as we speak. I am responsible in one way or another for Betrayal at House on the Hill, the Pathfinder Adventure card game, Lords of Vegas, Axis and Allies Revised, just tons of things. I was a creative director for Dungeons and Dragons for a while. I also make a lot of puzzle stuff. There's a book I wrote called The Maze of Games that's in its 5th printing right now. It's a puzzle novel. Got a book called Puzzlecraft. I write about poker with James Ernest, Dealer's Choice, and other such things. I got a game theory thing that I do called Game Theory in the Age of Chaos. Just stuff.
Just some stuff. I mean, it doesn't sound like you do a whole lot. I mean, it sounds like you're kind of...
it
seems like you got some free time somewhere in there.
I like to think of my job as being pretty laid back, every now and then. Go out, issue some sort of game proclamation. Games are like this now. And then I go back in my cave.
That's actually funny because I know Brian was actually one of us telling us about how you have the top 100 games that you must know how to play, and he talked about that last year.
Yeah, let's talk about that because there's a brand new version coming out soon. I test drove it. Well, we'll talk about it later, but let's talk about it when we get to one of the segments because the list is radically different now.
Yeah.
So
I guess
if we go kind of chronologically, Zycia, you got an interesting one from early in Mike's career.
Yeah, his career, not mine. That's funny. I was like, in my career.
No, you're just Zycia today.
Like the Spider-Man. And this is something interesting because I actually got into Dungeons and Dragons probably 5 or 6 years ago. It's something that I picked up way later in life. And obviously, there's multiple versions and multiple, flavors of that as well. People publishing things online now, which we'll also get into. But I saw that you were part of version 3, like 3rd edition. And what I know from a lot of my friends, which 3.5 is based off of 3 because it's just revised past that. But it was
the numbers work.
Yeah. So a lot of people like 3.5 because of the customization, especially compared to like 5th edition nowadays. But I noticed you were a part of that. So what kind of, what kind of sparked that idea coming from AD&D and 2nd edition to having more customization, now adding in feats, adding in all those other abilities that, that wasn't really there before and that customization that wasn't there?
I mean, probably the single biggest thing was it moved from Wisconsin to Seattle. Right? I mean, honestly, what really happened in that period of time was, Wizards bought TSR. I remember getting a call from inside TSR. A guy named Dave Eckelberry called me and said,
the call's coming from inside the house.
Right. Why are executives from your company crawling all over my building? And I'm like, it's April Fool's Day. It's April Fool's Day. You can't possibly mean that. But yeah. So we bought TSR, and I was actually having a great time just making card games. I'd grown up writing Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but I was kind of out of that. Because you know, I was like, oh, let's make some collectible card games. Let's make, you know, Marvel and I was working on Spider-Man. I made the Marvel suit. I made the X-Men trading card game, and you know, we're working on The Simpsons and just all sorts of other things, BattleTech, whatever. And they said, would you like to come over here and be a part of this? And I was just like, man, do you really want me mucking up the works? But it turned out everybody wanted the works mucked up. Like, I mean, it was kind of stale at the time. And so you don't put Jonathan Tweet and Monty Cook and Skip Williams and all those people in a room and not expect the ground to shift seismically. My job as creative director was essentially to do two things. To get the hell out of their way and to stop them from killing each other.
I thought that was one of
like
them,
those were really the two big jobs. Not that I didn't get in plenty of fights. We found that like Monty and I work together now on a game called The Ninth World, but I think if you told us at the time when we were making third edition that we would be best of friends and stuff like that, we might have both had some doubts about that because we were always in one argument or another. But you know, we just put a really super great crew together and said, let's just go. I remember in the first meeting, I said something like, if you do nothing but make armor class go the other direction, you have done the Lord's work. And
yes.
What? And so what that was taken. Yeah. So that was, but the point of that sentence was to just say, you know, we could make small changes. We could just make something that people are going to love, but you know, doesn't really move the ball forward.
Play it safe. And
I got no tolerance for that behavior from anybody. Now, when the rubber hit the road, people had all the things they wanted to defend, but like philosophically, we were on a mission to just make the best role-playing game ever made, and I think we did it. I mean, I think our crew was really good, and most of us lived. Mm-hmm. So it worked out.
It's interesting because I actually, when I started, like I said recently, I started on 5th edition, and it was like just to kind of get me introduced. And as I started playing a little bit more, you know, I started playing, had a couple friends do a Pathfinder campaign, and then I had a friend who was playing 3.5, and like now I'm like, wow, like 3.5 is probably one of my favorites because of the ability of like just being able to kind of pull off the rails and actually have a lot more customizations to your character and kind of make it your own rather than just like, you know, here's the kind of the characters you can have, and you know, this is kind of it. Like that's all you really can do, which was great to get me started. But then past that, it kind of just amplified it. So that was really cool.
It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun to go from working at Wizards of the Coast and being like in the mix on those fateful decisions and all that to going to help Paizo launch a board game line and being there as Pathfinder came together. And they would, you know, I basically told them, you know, they could come to me for anything, but I kind of hope they didn't. Like, I was kind of hope that they would just make whatever crazy dumb decisions they wanted to make without any reverence for, you know, what, you know, people like us had done earlier with 3.0. And I think they did a really great job of that. And then when they did a new version recently, they really did a great job of that. The Pathfinder 2nd edition is phenomenal. And so, you know, I mean, the ball moves. You don't get a choice, really, right? I mean, like, you know, you can be a purist and say this is how gaming should work. The only edition matters is the one that I care about, but it's just not the way. It's not the way. I play in a 5th edition campaign and I love it.
Yeah.
Kind of in the same vein there about, you know, the ball moves and how gaming changes. This neat little game gets released by Avalon Hill in 2004, which from my understanding from discussing with you on this at PAX West, almost didn't make it out. Tell us a little bit more about Betrayal.
Oh, I mean, I've told the story many times, but I'm always happy to tell it again. So the thing about Betrayal at House on the Hill was it did not have a chance to come out. It was bought by Avalon Hill, you know, and then Avalon Hill went out of business. Basically, Hasbro bought it. They fired everybody who knew anything about anything, and it just sat in a drawer. My friend Rob Davio, who had, you know, I've known for years, came to me. He was working at in the Hasbro Milton Bradley Parker Brothers division, and he said, "I got this game, and I've been trying to put it out, but you know, it's got tiles and plastic figures and punch outs and
Pentagonal.
three rule books and they just, every time I bring it up, they look at me like I got three heads." And so I'm like, all right, kick it over to me. And because I'm at the company, I'm at Wizards of the Coast. I'm at the division of the company that does the weird stuff. And I'm actually specifically in charge of the weird division. Like I'm in charge of the division that is like, I think I don't remember. I think my title was something like Director of New Products or Creative Director of New Products or something like that. Anyway, so I look at this thing and I'm enthralled with it. It's by a guy named Bruce Glasgow. He's just done a paper prototype. Like there aren't any even real pieces in it, and I'm like, I see the future here. I think it's gonna be great. So I went to my executives and I'm like, this is great. We just gotten out the door, or we're in the process of getting out the door, Axis and Allies D-Day, and my game Risk Godstorm, all of which I was deeply involved in. And they wanted a fourth game. And I'm like, well, I got this game. It's got, you know, tiles and pawns and punch outs and three rule books and so forth. And they looked at me like I had a third head, right? Like they were like, what are you talking about? We don't want that. What we want is a game that is, you know, like Axis and Allies or Risk Godstorm. You got another one of those in you? I'm like, well, there is a game I've always wanted to be involved in. It's called Titan. And Titan is a game about taking piles of monsters and stomping other piles of monsters. And it was written by a guy named Dave Trampier. And I said, you need to go get that, and we can put that out, and we'll have great success with it. And they were like, great. And they didn't tell them about the fact that Dave was kind of a black helicopter guy and was the kind of person who might chase uninvited people off his lawn with a shotgun. I didn't tell him that part. And they came back and they said, we didn't get Titan. And I was like, they're like, what else you got? I'm like, well, I got this game. It's got tiles and pawns and three rule books. And they print it. Like it was like, because I'd run them out of time on doing anything else in the year. And so that's how it got out. I basically just tricked them into letting me put out the game I wanted to put out. And then I put together the rock stariest of rock star teams to work on it. You know, people like Bruce Cordell and Tailwind Woodruff and Bill McQuillan and Bill Slavacek, and just murderer's row of writers. And you know, it was really great. I get a lot of credit for that, and I don't think it would have come out without me. But it is one of the great team projects of all time. Like it's like Casablanca. You know, it was created by committee. But it is super good, and you know it only took me 12 years to get around to doing an expansion for it. But it definitely went from, you know, it wasn't really much of a success. That's what people don't really realize, is that when the game came out, hardly anybody bought it, and you know, kind of proved everybody right that it was kind of a dumb idea to publish this game. Until about like 8 years later or so, when everybody was saying it was like the best game of all time.
Yep.
I was like, where were you guys when we put out the game?
Yeah.
I would have been really happy.
Then
I would have been really happy if you'd shown up, you know. Of course, you would have been like 12, but I mean, whatever. Like, if you'd shown up then, I would have put out like Betrayal at Ice Station Zero, which was a game I wanted to put out, and I specifically suggested the crossover with Dungeons and Dragons and a Scooby-Doo game, and we got two of those out. Well, we didn't. I'm not involved in it as much, but I'm just saying Wizards got that out because we went back to Widow's Walk years later. But I mean, like sometimes just you gotta just bet with other people's money.
Yeah.
And that's basically what I did, and it was a pretty terrible bet, as it turned out. Except now, when it's making them millions of dollars every day.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Like, but
I played
part of it was you kind of needed that board game, not really renaissance, just that when everybody started making that shift to some of the European type board games and the different things, you got Carsicone and what's the sheep trading game?
Catan.
Catan, yeah. Thank you.
Settlers,
Then when people got hooked on those, they're like, "Oh, what else is like this?" And then it built such a cult following. I have a group of friends that every year when we see each other at PAX East, we play that game at board game night before PAX starts.
Yeah.
Because it's so much fun with a group of people.
Like I was, like you said, kind of got hooked on like Settlers and other games like that. Again, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And it was fun because like I had two guys that were like really into board games, and they're the ones that always invite us over, and we'd have like board game night, and he would show us like a new game. Well, I thought was new. And then this one came out. So Betrayal came out, and we start setting it up, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then it's like, oh, here's your sanity card. And I'm like, what is that? What do you mean sanity card? They're like, oh, well, as you play, like your sanity may go down. And I'm like,
right.
Okay. And then like, so
I mean, have you met Mike? His sanity's already gone. Come on.
And then going through,
I was absolutely the person to work on it.
And then going through like building the table, like building each room out because of the way that the decisions you make. Like it was really neat. And then I got to the second half, and then I was like, oh wait, there's like a whole nother half of this game. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, that hooked me. That was like one of the things that sold. But yeah, it's a very unique game as far as the ones at least I've played. And it is interesting to know that like it was, years later that it became popular at least. But yeah, it's just super cool.
I do aim to make it a little less unique. For 15 years, I've gone without making another game with a trader mechanic. But it turns out that Justin, Gary, and Justin made Ascension and Soul Forge and things like that. We put our teams together, and we're working on a game now that it's called Hyde Society, and we've been sort of teasing it for a couple of years because we've just been working on it in our basement. But it's the first time I've done anything with a trader mechanic since that point, and it's real different. It's a really different game, but I'm excited to go back to that because I think there's a lot that still can be done with it.
Yeah, that's a lot of popular things right now is the trader aspect. And it's always a neat thing because it gives that extra element of a game that it kind of like, it makes it unpredictable, right? Like you can have the base game. This is, your object is to solve a puzzle, but like at the same time, you have someone that's trying to not solve the puzzle, or maybe solve it for them so they can do something different. And it does always change things.
Yeah, we've certainly seen a lot of new elements, and I think we're going to bring something to the table. And I think people will, have a chance to see what we've been thinking about not too long from now. So I think we'll come back. Maybe we'll come back on this show and we'll talk about it.
Anytime.
We're here for you.
Yeah.
So the company name. So we have Loan Shark Games, which first thing you think loan shark, as in like I'm going to borrow a loan from the bank. And then someone like a loan shark.
Not from the bank, from the shark.
Right.
From the shark,
a loan and then the shark part.
We have no affiliation. We have no affiliation with any actual bank.
Yeah. So, but the name here is like loan as an individual shark. So I guess what's the play on that? Why loan individual versus?
Because James Ernest is a very clever guy. I don't know. We were launching the company in 2003, and James said, I was like, I want to be something like I said something like, let's do something with like a predator or something that says we can't be messed with or something like that. Like some dumb statement that you make before you launch a company. And James was like, okay, what do you think about Loan Shark? And I'm like, I like that name. Yeah, but wait, what if it was like LONE shark? And I'm like, that, and at that point, I didn't realize that literally every conversation I would have in the future would be about spelling the name of my game, right? In every single context that you could possibly do it. We became, I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie That Thing You Do. We became
Yeah.
the Oneater.
The Oneaters,
Right.
right? Instead of the
It's
Wonders.
like,
That's
so
super
it's a
funny.
super bright idea, right? And everybody in my company has paid for it since that point. But you know, our motto is there's only one of us and we're a shark. And you know, it's kind of a philosophy, right? It's like we're the only people who do what we do, and I feel pretty confident that that's true. And also, we're kind of, you know,
Badasses.
yeah, we're gnarly. We don't really like being pushed around very much. We don't fit into any specific box. We're very likely to do something very different than what you want, even if you're one of our fans. But it's worth knowing that we're thinking about you while we're doing it, you know.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "What did you just make?" And I'm like, "Well, we didn't make what you expected, but we think we like it."
I can also attest that when I stopped by the booth at PAX, that I only ever saw one shark there at any one time.
Okay, so what he means by that is that, and the pictures are on the internet to prove it. We take the pandemic and safety very seriously at Lone Shark. I mean, we wouldn't make, you know, we've had rules that people are not forced to go to meetings, not forced to go to conventions if they don't want. You know, we just changed our total behavior, and we wanted to express that philosophy. So when we went to PAX West, we went in shark costumes. We went in like completely sealed, air filtered shark costumes with their own air generators
Oh my god.
on the
that's awesome.
inside, right? And it's really funny to show off a game when you know, essentially are like in a hazmat suit. But the difference between a shark costume and a hazmat suit is that a hazmat suit has hands, but a shark costume has fins. And so
Yes.
I'd be like, this thing over here, this thing, move that, right? And so, you know, and we were right at the front of the convention. We were one of the, because of weirdness, I mean, we were one of the biggest companies in tabletop there, and so everybody came to our booth. And you know, we're doing this essentially dinner theater stuff, right? With a you know, shark costumes and a Lords of Vegas wheel that you could spin and all sorts of things. And so, and I know that when the Penny Arcade guys and Reed guys came by to look and they saw us doing that, they were just like, "We're back, right? The conventions are back." But at the same time, you know, like it was also kind of weird because there was a strict rule at the convention that you have to have your mask on at all times, right? Well, I'm wearing a shark costume with a globe in front of my face. If I put a mask on, I die.
Yeah.
Like, right? And so they were like, Mike has to wear a mask under that. Or like, Mike is recirculating his own air.
It's a mask.
Mike's
Yes.
already breathing carbon dioxide.
Exactly. Oh, by the way, that's 100% true. That I could absolutely tell my brain capacity going down over the course of this. Like, I only could do about an hour in the suit because I could definitely tell that, you know, I wasn't doing pure oxygen at this point.
That's hilarious. No, that's a good point you bring
right?
up. Is COVID, obviously, right? That has affected the world, and a lot of people may not think, like board games, for example, because video games, obviously, we can play online and we're good, but board games is something that I used to do all the time. And then, you know, the pandemic happened, and it was like, I have all this closet full of board games, and I didn't play any of them the whole time because typically you need, you know, more than 2 people to do that. So, like, how does that affected, like, either your philosophy? I don't necessarily know about sales, but like the philosophy behind like your company with, you know, board games.
Yeah. Okay. So I was at, I think this is where I ran into you guys. I was at PAX East 2020 when the first the first nursing home was hit here in Seattle, right? And at that point, we don't know what this thing is. We
Right.
don't know if the right thing to do is to, go rescue those folks or, it's just the worst, right? And so I'm at PAX East. My wife's texting me saying, you need to pay attention to this. Come back. And I'm like, okay, this is a real big deal. We need to change our entire corporate philosophy because of it. And everybody's like, do you think that's overreacting? I was like, no. So what we did was the following. First thing we did out of the gate was we cut every one of our prices in half. We just said, you know what? It's going to be a rough road. You guys don't know it yet, but we're about to go into a huge recession. And so we want games. We make games for solo play and for small groups, right? I mean, we make puzzles. We think there's going to be a huge renaissance in puzzles coming up because of this thing. Not that we want to take advantage of it, but we make now a useful thing. We make a thing that actually can help people through the crisis. And so we cut all our prices. The next thing we did was we sent $1,000 worth of games to any retailer in America who wanted it.
Wow.
We were just like, we said,
Wow.
if we know that you're about to go through a situation where you don't even know how to sell games. Some of you will do outdoor sales. Some of you will do, so we just want you to have a bunch of our games to get you through. So that if you have to raise capital, you can sell them wherever you like. You can sell them on the internet. You can sell, and so we had about, we had several hundred stores take us up on that. I don't know the exact number, but it was a lot. And then we just became the biggest social justice voice you could imagine, right? Like we our philosophy became, we're going to talk about what ails you. And if there are people who tell us, oh, we want you to just be game designers, we're like, well, guess what? You got a lot of companies you could go to. We won't miss you. And so we just felt like there was a shift. It was seismic, and we needed to shift with it. And I mean, I don't know if you, in addition, obviously all the game distribution shut down. We had a functioning warehouse. That was a huge deal. We were shipping games when other people weren't. We didn't have all our stuff tied up at distributors. We built a massive following for our online store. So, all the stuff we did in advance made us capable of going through a pandemic better as a company
Right.
than I think a lot of others did. And, I mean, we felt that everybody else's survival was essential to our survival.
Yeah.
So we
That's
we
pretty
made
cool.
we made ourselves about that. And as it turned out, our stuff is really good in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Like and so people just bought tons of it. So, and when you ask about sales, I mean, I don't feel uncomfortable saying, I wouldn't say we had a great year. That is to say, it wasn't that, our sales were bigger than they were in previous years, but our sales were good.
That's,
Because-
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like you had
Yeah.
a great year for karma, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We basically bet it all on karma is a way to think about it. Yeah, we bet it
Yeah.
all. Because we could have been like cutting your prices down to the bone is a very dangerous act
Yeah.
unless what happens is that gets paid back when people are more capable of, being flush with their capital.
Yeah.
And it turns out that everybody remembered that. So, we put our prices back eventually, right? And they kept buying them. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think the whole thing is affected by the pandemic. I mean, what we're going through now is the biggest shipping crisis I've ever seen. And it's affecting everybody. It's going to make board game prices rise, just like it's going to make the price of literally every object that you want rise. And so, people just have to be aware that this is not normal. This is not a time when things are just cyclical and you go through, some ups and downs. This is a really very difficult time, and a lot of people are not processing it well. And so we just got to be there for them.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I think that's one of the things when I had done research on board games in the past was that there's only a certain amount of machines out there that do things like build the boxes. And like, if you want a box that's a certain way with like the texture top and like, you pretty much have to get it from China because these are like tens of millions of dollars for these machines, and no one in the US wanted them anymore. So China, and I think Germany was another one that got some. That affects just producing.
We print everywhere. We have stuff in China. We have stuff in Hong Kong, which we continue to treat differently than China. And we have stuff in Europe. But we have some great great printers in the United States as well. And so some of our games are produced here in Massachusetts and Michigan rather than around the world. And, it's just about making sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. I mean, we're going through a paper crisis now. I don't know if you've noticed that most of your games are made out of paper.
Yeah, really.
And so, it's a huge deal that we don't have any. And so, I mean, I don't want to over dramatize it. What I want to say is that we have been supported by our fans and our customer base and just the industry in general. And it's our job to pay it back. And in return, we expect the following understanding that the world is kind of in crisis. And so, like if we're a month late with something, we're super sorry, right? But
yeah,
I don't own a printing plant, and I really don't own a container ship. So
would you buy one if you could?
I would actually at this point, absolutely. It would be a great business to go into. If I had the money,
right?
I would. Okay, I guarantee you, I would tell you what I would do if I had a couple $1 billion right now. I would go into the container ship business, and I would just start making containers and just selling them, because it's the single most valuable object in the world right now. And so if I could just say, hey, I've got an extra 500 containers that are sitting in Los Angeles. Do you want them? I would never have to work a day in my life. And honestly, that sounds way more interesting than making board games and puzzles anyway. So,
I think one of the
logistics is a puzzle, right?
That's
the worst. The worst.
I think
puzzle.
one of the interesting changes that went on was kind of some of the marketing too. I mean, you obviously do regular marketing, but one of the marketing that you do is you go to these trade shows, you go to these conventions. I think you did some ungodly number of conventions a year previously, and then it was PAX East, and then
I think I did 22 in 2019.
Yeah,
wow.
I did. Like pretty much every other weekend, if you even were lucky to space them out. Yeah, and now it was like PAX East, which was like March 2020, and then PAX West, which was September 2021.
Yeah.
And then I see you scheduled for Unplugged coming up in December.
Yeah, we're going to go to Unplugged. We're going to go to Emerald City Comic Con. In the summer here, or in September, there was no way you could get me to go to do something that I thought I would literally never stop doing, which is I've been to Gen Con every year of my life since I was 17. I've been 35 straight Gen Cons. And I didn't go. And everybody was like, oh, come on, you're going to go. I'm like, no, I'm not going to go. And the answer was, the reason why was because I did a couple things. First was I was definitely going to PAX West, which was a week and a half earlier. And that was in the immunization window that I didn't think, I should be traveling right after that. And also just like PAX was a fortress. PAX was like they had multicolored bracelets that indicated your level of immunization status and all that kind of stuff, right? And I didn't see that from Gen Con. Eventually they ended up using a lot of the right procedures, but they didn't tell us that when we had to make our decision about whether to go. And so we that sort of gave me a new perspective on it. Like, I don't have to go to these conventions. I only need to go when I want to go. And that's a radical shift in my life.
Yeah.
I don't have any expectation that 2022 is going to be a large number of conventions for me either. right? And maybe this is just a different phase that we just learned. This is a big deal. Going to convention is a huge deal. You can't just do it willy-nilly. But it'll be whatever's good for whoever, right? For me, I think I made a permanent shift in my life. Now, you have me back on the show in 3 years, and I say I can't make it that day because I have to go to Banff for SoCon or whatever. Whatever. I can't guarantee that's not going to happen. But for now, I'm pretty happy with the decision that maybe these face-to-face experiences aren't the only thing we need.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So to pivot more towards the positive and fun, I walked into this random panel and just because I liked the name of it and didn't even realize the history of it when I walked in. And then when I found out who was doing it, I was fascinated and enraptured as you did it with no video going on.
Oh, yeah.
But there was the 100 games that you absolutely positively must know how to play by Mike Selinker, which he originally did on 2015 PAX East.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can still see that one live. That one on the internet. It's been probably the most popular video that I've ever made. Mostly because it gives people the opportunity to tell me what an idiot I am, and they're probably right.
That's why we do this too. It's great.
Right. Yeah. But no. I basically went to the internet and I was like, okay, so if I had to define all the games that you need to know how to play to be well-rounded as a gamer, not necessarily as a game designer, although that helps, what do you need to know? And so we went through it and we figured out what games, and so many popular things just fell away. And we got down to a list of 100 games that I thought was pretty canonical, right? I mean, like it was pretty solid. Coming on up, through the pandemic and stuff, coming on up to PAX, I was like, I think I need to revisit this list. Probably as much as 10% of it could change, right?
Oh.
I got to the convention and I realized that I had changed over 50% of the list. The games had just fallen off in those 6 years. Those 6 years were hopping. Things came, lots of things came out, right? And they sort of replaced other games that, maybe, and I tried to get to the point where it's like, okay, if I've got to teach somebody an important concept, I also want them to have a really good time, and I want them to play something that really feels good to them. And so, games that, on a self-interest level, like one of my games fell off the list, which was the Pathfinder Adventure card game. Not that it isn't a great game. I mean, I love that game. It's I've done 100 products for it. I would have to like it if we were going to do it. But Villainous came out, and I was like, you know what? If I'm going to teach somebody this concept, I'm going to grab Villainous off the shelf instead of my own game. And then on the other hand, Acquire was on the list, and Acquire is one of those great classic games. It's a city building game, and I realized Lords of Vegas is just better. Like, I mean, I don't mean it's better in the sense of where it is in the perspective of time. Acquire is way more important as a game than my little game James and I wrote. But it's just, you're going to pull that off the shelf before you pull Acquire off the shelf. And so it really radically changed. All the video games changed. Major shifts like, just in general, I basically just revisited the whole thing. It did turn out that we had some technical issues, mostly related to me not realizing what time the panel was. And so that's a call you want to get, by the way. Which was like, hey, it was my friend Jeff he's like, you got great news. Your panel's completely sold out, right? And I'm like, line's completely full, room's completely full. I was like, oh man, it's an hour early. That's a big deal. He said, what do you mean an hour early? You need to be here now. I'm like, oh God. So we just could not get the video thing together. And so I'm redoing the panel at PAX East. At PAX Unplugged. But this time with everything going, and we'll put it up on the internet in December, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. But no, seriously, like I have gotten more people telling me I'm wrong about that than any other thing
Wow.
in my life.
Ah,
And I'm all about it. Like I'm all about it. These people came up to me and they were like, I had Mario Kart 64 on the list. Right? I mean, like, you would think this is an unimpeachable choice.
Right.
Right. No, PAX East, PAX West, somebody come up to me and say, you are so wrong about Mario Kart. I'm like, how can I be wrong about Mario Kart? Said, no, nobody's playing 64. They're just going to play Mario Kart 8.
No.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I would never pull Mario Kart 64 off the shelf. What am I talking about? So, it's like, I mean, so yeah, it's a thing to have done. I'm glad somebody did it. There's a reasonable, some part of my life would be different if it was somebody other than me. Right. But, I mean, it's fun. It's fun to have these debates. How
Yeah.
could you not? How could you this? Right. And I'm just like, no, that's just the list. It's never
Yeah.
changing again. I guarantee you, it's never changing again.
I'll give it 5 or 6 more years. You'll change it again.
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
fun.
I'm sure I will.
Well, especially since, like, if anybody hasn't seen the original, you should go watch the original
Watch it.
from 2015. Like Mike said, he's going to have a newly produced video coming out from PAX Unplugged, which is coming up here second week of December, I think it is. So watch for that coming out. But I think what's nice about this is and I'm gonna basically steal Mike's lines here. He basically, it's not the list of the 100 best games. It's not the list of the 100 most important games. Not
Here
the
I
100
thought-
most fun games.
Thought you were
It's-
stealing my
if
lines
you're-
here.
No,
I was excited for half a
you're
second.
Zycia. It's the list of the 100 games that if your friend Zeb walked up to you and said, I've never played that, you'd say, Zeb, we need to fix you right now. But
That's why Monopoly isn't on the list.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because if
there we go.
Zeb said, "I've never played Monopoly," you wouldn't teach him.
You would say, get out.
Yep.
You just say, "Let's find something else for you to play,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you'd have this wonderful, sweet summer child that
Yeah.
Yes.
you would not want to ruin by actually introducing to Monopoly.
True that.
Right?
True that.
Like, let that guy
Yes.
be.
And I
Monopoly
love the
never
beauty of
ends
this list.
happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never ends,
Yeah,
period.
no.
I love the beauty of this list that it's not board games, it's not video games, it's
Everything.
games.
Yeah.
It's
Every
different
time I
types of board games. It's shooter, FPS games. It's strategy games. It's RPG games, paper and video. It's VR games, and I don't know if anyone knows.
VR was new.
That's a-
VR was new to the list this time out. The my top shooter was a VR game because why wouldn't it be?
Yes.
Right? Like, I mean, if you're sitting there and you're playing on your a shooter on your Nintendo Switch, and you're going to try to tell me that is the most involved experience you can have, let me put an Oculus on your head. And I mean, it's gonna be different. And so, yeah, I mean, I just feel like I said before, the ball is gonna move whether or not you move with it.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's right to be smart about these things and not beholden to your preconceptions. And it was a very popular panel. I think it'll be fun to do again.
Yeah.
Cool.
So continuing to talk about the ball moving, and before we get into our 5 questions that we ask every guest, but before we get into that, just let our audience know what's coming up next for Lone Shark Games.
What's coming up next? Well, we ran out of Lords of Vegas rather spectacularly. There was this COVID-related inventory error which made us think we had 5,000 more games than we did, and it was kind of catastrophic.
Oh,
But we ran out hard. And so we're going to do a Kickstarter for the new Lords of Vegas this is the first time it's ever been a Lone Shark Games product, and so we're doing a couple little things to make it ours. We're not changing the rules or how the game plays at all, but we're just doing some things that make it look like something that would come out of our house. And then we're doing a big expansion called Americana, which is actually a maxi expansion. It's 5 different expansions in the same box, where we go to different cities like New Orleans and Reno and
Atlantic City, I think?
City. Yeah, Atlantic City. You should think I'd know my own game by now. And so we got that going on, and so that'll all happen in the next few months, and I think it's going to go really well. If you are excited about that, come find us, and we'll hook you up with so you can know when we're doing that. But it's not going to be long. So that's a big thing that's happening with us. One other giant thing that's happening is I haven't really talked about this much. We're about to launch an exhibit at a Washington D.C. museum called Planet Word, which is, I think, really the first ever word game exhibit at a national museum.
Wow.
It's going to be great. I was just out there this past 2 weeks ago, and just getting all the stuff unpacked and watching the stuff come, the walls come together and all that. It's I basically got to design the room of my dreams. And we play tested it with about 30 people, and they all came out going, this is the best thing that's ever happened. So we're really excited about that. I will have a lot more to say about it, but this is really the first time I've ever had a chance to talk to people about it. And I think it's going to be great. I think, if you're anywhere near the East Coast of the United States, we will have a room that you will want to move into.
Awesome. Yeah, I still have a trip planned to go to DC at some point. My wife's never been there, so she's like, to go check out the stuff. I'm like, oh, that's great. We should totally do the museums and everything. So now I can slip that one in there too as a little extra bonus.
Yes.
So.
It's just a fantastic museum in general. Planet Word is one of the best museums I've ever been to, but they gave us an opportunity to do something that nobody's ever done. And that was actually kind of interesting because we had literally no guardrails. We had no idea what we were supposed to be doing. Obviously, we did it wrong because nobody had any information as to how we should do it. So but we kept at it, and I've got a team of I think 6 fabricators that have been working for a year to make all the props in the room. And they're amazing. They're just amazing. Every day I would see new photos of something that I imagined could be a thing, but they would produce and say, is this what you meant? And the answer is no. This is way better than what I meant, right? Wow. And so it was great. It's gonna be colossal. I can't wait to be able to take all you guys there and see how cool it is. So yeah, soon.
So
That sounds fantastic.
Brian, I know you want to get into our 5 questions, but
no,
I do.
Keep talking.
Bring it.
Yeah.
Don't let me gatekeep.
Yeah, Mike. Well, we're corresponding online. We are kindred spirits in that we are both lovers of all things spooky. So yes. I wanted to know just 2 short questions. Okay. 1, favorite horror movie, why? And 2, how are you going to spend Halloween? What are you going to do to celebrate?
Oh, great questions. Okay, so just the background before I answer them. I'm a horror game designer. At the heart, that's my thing. I've gone at it a bunch of different ways. Betrayal at House on the Hill is kind of more of a light horror game, and Apocrypha is a little more serious. But just the whole thing about playing with people's minds and scariness is kind of a thing I like. I can't wait to talk about what your favorite horror games are. That's going to be great. My favorite horror movie? So I love I think there are many movies that are horror movies that you don't realize are horror movies, but they're playing off. Like, for example, one of my favorite movies is The Warriors. Um, okay, so The Warriors is a movie about basically about getting from one end of New York to the other, right? It's about these street gang members who get framed for a crime in the north end of New York and have to get to Coney Island. And it is essentially high pressure, everything about a slasher movie, except it's just better. Like, I mean, it's just, you're in it. Your heart is pounding the entire time through. And I think that's what makes a horror movie, even if it's not called a horror movie. So, you know, my favorite horror movie really is the last 10 minutes of Fantasia.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
I mean, like,
absolutely.
right? Like, the last 10 minutes of Fantasia is, well, first off, it's the scaredest I've ever been,
Yeah.
right? Because I was, whatever, 6 years old, and I'm watching this demon come out of a mountaintop to, you know, the strains of Modest Mogorsky, and you know, and there's this, you know, the Night on Bald Mountain is playing, and you know, it's just terrifying. But also, it's like you can't turn away. You can't not look at it, just because it's so gorgeous and beautifully done. And then it transitions into the Ave Maria segment with the nuns. I guess they're nuns.
Yeah.
Walking with the candles, and you know, it's like, but this is still very spooky. Like, it's not like comforting in any way.
Right.
It's like the
Yeah.
you know, it's I guess it's like the good guys have arrived, maybe, but like maybe they'll put the demon back in the bottle. I don't know. All I know is I was permanently scarred by this movie. And I don't think you can beat that. Like, I think your favorite horror movie is going to be the thing that turned you inside out when you were a kid. And you know, we're getting better horror movies, don't get me wrong. But you know, I know how they're all made now. I didn't know that when I was a kid.
True that.
Right? And
yeah.
like, I can remember the moment I saw Aliens, and in the first act, I saw Ripley, or the second act, whatever, you know, middle late first act. I saw Ripley using her cargo loader, and you know, it's 1986, right? So I'm old enough to be able to process this, and I go, "That's your final boss level. She's going to be in the cargo loader at the end, and she's going to take on the alien. You know, the alien that she's going to have to fight." And sure enough, that happened, right? Yep. Well, if you're smart enough. Yeah, it's Chekhov's gun. It absolutely is Chekhov's gun. And so, and I, you know, at that point, you kind of lose the value of it being a horror movie. Because for me, it doesn't make that movie not classic. It's great. I love that movie. I've watched it 40 times, right? But I was too old for it. Like, I wanted to be back. You know, my favorite movie experience, the most jealous I've ever been, is watching Shakespeare in Love. Because Shakespeare in Love, the audience watches Juliet die, and they don't know she's gonna get back up. And when she does, they all go, I want to be them. Right? I want to be them.
I can absolutely appreciate that.
So no horror movie that I see a second time is ever going to be as good as the first time I saw it. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's my answer.
Well, unfortunately,
the last 10 minutes of it.
Unfortunately for you, you were old enough to see Aliens at the prime. I was actually a kid when I saw that.
You were terrified. Right.
So, little different experience for me.
Right. You were terrified, and that's the right thing to be. That's a horror movie. It's in the title. Yeah. For God's sake, right? And so, and then what was the second question you asked me?
Oh, how are you going to celebrate Halloween? Do you do anything special to celebrate, or?
Yeah,
I decorate the hell out of my house.
Yeah.
I'm working on cosplay.
I don't know. I'll probably put on a mask or
Nice.
sort of sword
I love it.
something.
I don't see a
don't
difference.
know.
What's going on here? You guys.
Yeah, actually, we we were testing this. We're doing this for an event that we're doing for Microsoft, and we were online in the idea is this is an online event, and so we're using an online software system. Well, I put the mask on and it completely lost me. It had no idea who I was. It lost any
That's
identification
funny.
that I was a human being, and I didn't exist. I disappeared completely. So, no, but I like trick or treating. Obviously, it's a little different now, but I mean, I like being here when the kids arrive. And my wife, I think, is going to be home for that, so we'll have a good time, and then we'll eat all the candy we didn't manage to hawk at the door, and that'll be that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's fine. That's my Halloween.
Yeah. That's a lovely Halloween. So.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
What are we doing now?
Let's move into the 5 questions. So we've got a set of 5 questions we ask anybody that we interview.
I will.
The first, do your best.
Yeah. No, I'm prepping myself, right?
Yes.
This is like an interrogation. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. We're
wanna
real
change the
brain
lighting, but-
busters.
Uncharted waters.
I have no doubt.
Yeah. All right. So the first one I have is, what is your favorite animated character from a game, movie, cartoon, comic, whatever?
Ooh, I love that question. Man, animated is such a different thing these days.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, I just talked at length about Fantasia, which is my favorite movie, but I think my favorite character, the thing I got the closest to was when, do you guys ever play Neopets? Do you ever remember,
Neopets?
you remember that game?
Yeah, like online.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a
I had-
store.
I had a Bloomeroo. His name was Idlewild.
Aw.
And I took care of my Bloomeroo, and he was blue because he's Bloomeroo, and there are other Bloomeroos, but why wouldn't you have a blue Bloomeroo? That's the right way to be, right? And so, so I got very attached to my Bloomeroo. Nobody was allowed to mess with my Bloomeroo, and then I became in charge of just briefly in charge of the Neopets game for Wizards of the Coast, and I was like, okay, so my Bloomeroo is the main character of this game. They're like, no, you can't do that. You have to be like no, you don't understand. There's other characters, and then there's my character. It's the main character of the game, and nobody would let me make. I don't know, but I snuck him in. And then whenever I was also like one of the people who helped a little bit in launching Pokemon, and whenever anybody would ask me what my favorite Pokemon is, I would always say I'm partial to the Bloomeroo, and just watch the chaos happen in real time, right? Like because that's not a Pokemon. You don't even. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, the Bloomeroo,
And then-
the Neopets Bloomeroo is my favorite.
I love
And
it.
then I'd be sitting there going like,
Uh,
is that past the 150? Maybe that's one of the new gen. Maybe
Yeah, exactly.
I'll just shake my
exactly my
head.
point.
Yeah,
It's-
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose of the Pokemon. I mean, I'm a Psyduck fan, but my Bloomeroo is my Bloomeroo.
I love it.
Oh man.
Okay, did I pass the audition? What's the next question?
Yes.
The next question is actually it's going to be, what game have you played that you're embarrassed to tell your friends about?
I don't actually have a shame filter per se.
Neither does Brian. Weird.
Like,
Yeah.
This is a true statement.
So I'm not really sure that there's really anything I could say to my friends that would make them think I was off kilter in any way. I mean, what I can say is
I played
still-
Monopoly the other day.
no. I guess there are some things I could say, but that would shock them. But although Monopoly has, I think that I'm not ashamed of any game that I play. I might be ashamed of how much I play Marvel Puzzle Quest. Right?
Okay.
There you go.
Like Marvel Puzzle Quest is the perfect game for my brain when it's shutting down, right? It's like, oh, it's basically a match 3 game, but with all the Marvel characters, they all do different things.
Which is amazing.
It's a fantastic game. And
It's
so
great.
yeah, it's a fantastic, but I put a lot like when I walk my dog, I play this game. Why am I not just playing with my dog? Right? That's what the dog is for. Right?
And you've got a fantastic dog.
I do have a fantastic dog.
Yeah.
The great thing about my dog's name is Guybrush. And he's been in so many videos with me. Is he in the room? No, he's not in the room. He's been in so many videos with me that when I walk around PAX or something like that, every 5 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes, somebody will say, "Oh, you're Mike Selinker, right?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, hey, it's nice to meet you." If I'm walking my dog, it's every 45 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Because they see the dog first and they follow the lead right back up to my face. And they're like, "Oh, you're that guy with that dog." And I'm like, yeah, I'm his game designer. So yeah. But yes. Yeah, I think the question's flawed for me, but that's my answer.
Cool.
If
Very good.
just a side thing, if you like Marvel Puzzle Quest, there was a game that I actually saw out there at the convention, which was Minotaur Princess, which
yeah.
was a match 3 game,
Yeah.
which had this wonderful concept of it didn't match if things fell down. It didn't auto match because you wanted to match specific things to either like attack or heal or cast a spell. So you wanted more tactical control of it.
Mhm.
It was very interesting looking.
I saw it. I liked it. It definitely doesn't fit the description of I just want things to fall and then other things to die.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it
Brain
does not
shutting
do that.
down.
That is true.
Yeah.
All
right.
That's awesome.
What's
the
the third
next-
question?
Next one I got for you is if you could eat one meal anywhere in the world, where and what would it be?
Oh, that's a really bad question for me because I have two superpowers. One superpower is that I perceive visual cues very quickly. So like my head doesn't go on a swivel when, something interesting goes by. I can usually process it very fast. That's a nice superpower to have because it saved me from I can't tell you how much embarrassment. But the second superpower I have is that I can order food anywhere in the world. I know enough. I don't know any other languages than English, but I know every language when it comes to ordering food. And so I've been to a lot of places and I'm like, "Oh, you want this. So, but literally anywhere in the world. Oh my God.
Here I thought he had
would,
like some special power that delivers like an Uber from anywhere in the world. Like he could just get
oh my
food.
God. I would
I was
kill
like,
for that
where is
power.
this guy?
I would go to Ethiopia and I would eat an Ethiopian meal where I didn't know the names of anything that I was eating.
That's really
Amazing.
I would because first off, the communal experience of eating Ethiopian food cannot be beaten, which is, you got this spongy bread and you pick stuff up and, use your hands and all that. But every Ethiopian meal I've had has been radically different. And I was just in DC, as I mentioned, and I went to this Ethiopian restaurant, and the first thing they did was give me a jalapeno pepper that was this big that was stuffed with like spicy tuna.
Whoa.
And I was like, "You want me to eat this whole thing?" It's a giant jalapeno. Like, yeah. And I ate it. It was super. Like, I remembered that I ate it. Let's be clear, because, but it was. And that's how the meal kicked off. Like, so yeah, I don't think you can beat Ethiopian food, and I especially don't think you can beat Ethiopian food made by somebody who really knows what they're doing. So, yeah, that's what I'd do. Wow, now I want to do that now.
That's an awesome response. I love that. Oh,
Add us on Twitter when you get there.
yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll let you guys know where I am. Hey, I'm in Asababa. Anybody nearby?
Let's just ping it on Foursquare so we can find it.
Just if anybody's within, I don't know,
Swarm.
1,000 miles in any direction. Anyway, all right, that's my answer to that.
That's very much.
Okay, so what
Do you usually
is-
get like 4-word answers to these questions? Because I feel like I'm
I-
monologuing for like.
Oh,
No,
it's
no,
fantastic.
doing it-
No, that's
I'm-
why we were hoping that they'd be like you know,
Yeah.
kind of out of the norm, like sort of more thought provoking. And
Right.
because if any of us had to answer these questions, it would take us on a tangent,
Oh,
and that's exactly
Yeah.
what we're
Exactly
hoping
what
for.
I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing a tight 5 on every one of these. So.
That's
Oh no,
perfect.
you're doing fantastic.
All right.
So what is a game that you like that you think did not get a fair shake or was
Oh.
overlooked?
Oh man. Oh, there's so many. Yeah, I mean, of mine or of anybody's?
Yours.
Of anyone's. Like
Oh, yeah,
however
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to answer.
Yeah, I mean, there's 6,000 games released every year just in the board game side. And so
Yeah.
oh man, I couldn't even begin to answer this question the right way. I definitely feel like as a game designer, I have often felt, well, we talked about Betrayal at House on the Hill. I have often felt like I produce games at the wrong time, and they just don't get the airing that they deserve because they're either too early for their time or maybe I missed something. So, but I mean, God, there's so many, I can tell you, there's games which will never make my list because, they're not necessarily starting to be the most innovative, but just how much fun did you have? Like, there's a game, by Liberty Kiefer called Cristallo, which is a game about matching dragons' gems, and essentially is sort of a match 3 game on a card game level. It's fantastic. I mean, it's just brilliant. And she made it herself and did everything for the game, and just, I was just so impressed by that. And so, yeah, I don't know if that game got any sort of national airing, and it deserved it, right? But sometimes it's just not about what the game is, but who produces it and when. And so, yeah, I can list 100 games that fit that description. I think that I've been super lucky that my games kind of have an evergreen quality to them. They're still on the shelves. Like I'm very lucky. All my games are still on the shelves of stores no matter when I produce them, or most of them anyway. And so if I missed by like 5 years and then people start to realize that what I made was actually kind of cool, it'll still be there. I don't think that's true for most. I don't think that's
Yeah.
true. That question, I think, is a difficult one just because I think it's difficult for a lot of people because you think of all the times you tried to get someone to love the thing you like,
Mhm.
and they just didn't, right? They just didn't. It didn't work for them. That didn't make them a bad person, but it didn't give you the positive affirmation that you wanted. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the best way to think about this question is just to throw it back and say, if you ever feel you're in that spot, I mean, don't give up on it. Just keep finding different people you can play it with, because if you love it, there's got to be a good reason for it. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Cristallo was just one example of 500 that I could probably think of. But it's a great game, and you should all buy it.
Okay.
It,
Hey.
yeah, I,
On the
it's,
list.
yeah, it's like between $13 and $19 depending where you look right now. So
We'll link it in the chat below on
Cool.
the video once we post
I
it.
did not come here as Liberty Kiefer's press agent, but I will be happy to be her press agent anytime she wants.
So Mike,
It's
the
interesting,
last. Sorry about that, Bruno.
Yeah.
The
all right.
last question we have, and this one I hope is going to be a little easier.
Yeah, that was hard.
We'll see. If you could credit one person or experience from your past which contributed to where you're at today, who or what would it be?
Right. That's a lot easier. That's which of your children do you like the best? Which of your two parents had an actual impact, and which one do you want to cast to the side? Very simple question. I can see why you'd think that would be much easier to answer than one about games. Uh, no, I mean, like, okay, so it's real simple for me. Like, there are two monumental impacts, or two things that monumentally impacted my life, and one of them was my parents. Shocking, right? Everybody, hopefully, a lot of people feel that way, right? But my parents were my mom is a lawyer, a family lawyer, and has written codes about family law for the state and stuff like that. And so I learned, a lot about how rules work from her, right? And also compassionate, liberalism and all those other things. But also my dad is a linguist, and so I learned how words work from him, right? And so, I mean, like I got super lucky in the gene pool, and so that paid off really nicely. And I recommend everybody do that, is to get lucky in the gene pool. But but that's the dumb answer. Like, sorry, mom and dad, that's the dumb answer. The answer is the first moment that my mom and her boyfriend gave me Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it's the single greatest cultural impact on my life. It changed everything about who I was going to be. Now, obviously, the political stuff and all the other stuff I do, that comes from somewhere else. But all the gaming stuff, all the design, everything I do on stage, that's something I haven't talked about at all, but I do a ton of stuff like, I am completely fearless on stage. And all that's because I was a dungeon master at age 13, right? And, I mean, like, it's the single most potent influence on my writing style, on how I build my friend set, on how I think kids should be taught. Like I just can't, there's nothing, no pop culture element, no person, no whatever that can come close to what happened when I saw that I could create a world and it would be better than other people's worlds for me. And so, I mean, it's the easiest question in the world to answer. I mocked you before, but it's the easiest question in the world.
It's all
For
good.
me. And I hope that there are lots of people out there who are nodding along and saying I had that same experience.
Unfortunately, I didn't until way late, but no, I agree.
Yeah, you're a poorly formed human because of it.
Pretty much.
I mean,
that's
so much about Mike now.
I know. I mean, it's just like I heard you say that, and I'm like, oh, I feel so bad for the person you could have become.
Yeah.
But
Well, the
I
thing
guess we're
is,
just gonna have to live with it.
I did play video games from a very early age, like really early.
I mean,
but
it's
that's
gonna
about
be a
all I
different
did
thing
have.
for everyone.
It's okay,
It's gonna
Mike.
be a
We
different
know
thing
what's
for
wrong with both of us.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I think a lot of people, my version is that, but some people. I also played basketball when I was a young kid, and that could have been a career arc too, right? I mean, it could have been, or all the music I played or anything else. But this happened to be my thing, and I was like, wow, I can be a totally different person if I focus on this.
Awesome. Well, that concludes our questions of that right now. But we're actually
That's
gonna move into our next segment, which is what we've been playing recently.
Nobody told me this was going to happen. Nobody told me that. That's the thing you warn a guy about. It's like, I'm going to do random synthesizer boops right now. That's a thing you should tell a man about.
So this past, so I've been doing a thing called Shocktober for the month of October. And what we've been doing, or what I've been doing, is basically playing a scary game, which, by the way, I hate scary games. Full disclaimer.
Mike
full disclosure.
Nice.
Stand jump scares.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
Zycia
love
cannot
it.
stand creepy
Yeah.
ghost things or
Yeah.
whispers or
Like-
knocks at the
Yeah.
door. It freaks
Zombies?
him the heck out.
Zombies, I'm
That's
fine.
how you get over this. That's
Yeah.
how you get over this.
Zombies,
That's great.
cool. So show me zombies
Mhm.
all day. I don't care. But when
Yeah.
it comes to like ghost and creepy things, which we'll get into, that's what kind of freaks me out. So last year I started this thing called Shocktober, and what I do is I play scary games, but I also do this to raise money for the Able Gamers charity.
Love it.
So that's basically what we've been doing. So the last week, this last Friday, I played a game called Locked Up, which happened to be by one of the same makers of the other two games, thanks Kelly, that I had played that I also was very scared of.
Yeah. Amika Games, Amika Studios.
Right, Amika Studios, I think it is.
Amika
So
Studios, yeah.
Locked Up, and again, I'm not going to get into the details because I don't want to spoil it for anybody that's out there that wants to play it. But the idea is literally you're locked up in a room, sort of a house, as the story starts unfolding. And as you kind of make your way through the house, things start changing depending on what you click on, what you notice. And there's obviously a lot of jump scares.
Turning around.
There's
just
things
turning around.
speaking in your ear. There's like things hiding. It's just really creepy. But that game, I would say, it gave me the most anxiety of any game that I've played so far on here, because
That was exactly what I was hoping for.
Yeah, it was-
I knew it.
it didn't really give me a lot of jump scares, but it was just this anxiety of my stomach, like the whole time. Every time I turned around, every time I looked somewhere with the flashlight, every time I had to turn the flashlight off to like find something, like I was just like terrified. So that was something that was very interesting. And to kind of roll into this next thing, is the final one is this Friday. So our goal is to try to hit $750. We're currently at 491 as of before the podcast, and we're trying to hit the goal this Friday. And the last game that I've been dreading, because I actually knew this game. Every other game they haven't told me until the day of. But this game
nice.
is something you may be familiar with, which is called Phasmophobia.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah, you're gonna hate it.
so
I mean, you're gonna love it.
I
You're
have
gonna
played
hate it.
Phasmophobia, and I hate it, love it.
Okay.
I hate it so
Okay,
much.
good.
Yeah. But this Monday, it just released a new update. It was called like the Nightmare update. So it came with a new map, which is mostly outdoors. There's 4 new ghosts and this new mode called Nightmare, which is above the professional ability. So Nightmare, basically, the fuse boxes actually start off. So you have to find the fuse panel to actually turn it on if you want lights. There is no setup time. So 0%, you get off the truck and you're there. There's also your equipment starts damaged. So some of the readings and things you'll be getting potentially could not be right. The ghost can actually not leave any evidence or not one type of. I mean, it's basically everything that I could think about that would make this game even more terrifying. They decided to do that. So I'm gonna guess that DayDrinker probably reached out and was like, "Hey, can you guys make your update like this?" And then
Here are all the things that Zycia
so
can't stand. And because I said I would donate, was it $100, $200 if he
Something like
shit
that.
his pants. So like I want poopy
That's
pants.
great. That's a great goal.
so
One hopes you don't actually have to.
Yes.
yeah, I hope so too. So, but the thing is, this game is terrifying to me. Like I've played it many times, and you can ask them. I'll play with them probably 1 or 2 rounds, and then I'm like, all right, I'm good.
Mhm.
I'm done. Like and they're like, well, I keep playing. I'm like, no, I'm good. Like I get one good scare, and then I'm like, yep, we're good here. We're done. So that's this Friday. We're gonna be doing again Shocktober. So again, if you're listening, you can check us out on Friday on YouTube or Twitch, or check the videos out later on YouTube once they're published. But
And if by chance we do meet the donation goal, Mike has promised to play one more
I said I'd play one more game if we
Extra
hit our
night.
goal.
Friday night game.
It will not be
Yes.
on Halloween, but it'll be on another
No.
night after the Friday. So anyway, that's that. So that is actually outside of that game, the only other game I've been playing right now is probably the same thing that Demir's been playing, but it's basically New World. I'm still hooked on that. Been playing a lot of it, and actually I know Demir's actually played some more. But yeah, that's the games that I've been playing, and we've already kind of covered New World. So
Yeah. New World for me and Back for Blood. New World's getting to a point now, if nobody's been following it, that's very interesting in an MMORPG's release where all of its flaws are coming down to bear on it because a month has passed and people have put hundreds of hours into the game and they're starting to find that it's not that there's no end game content, is that the end game content is flawed in a very base sense that the world is running out of money because the money sinks in the game are so effective that they're taking all the money from everybody with no way to generate any more money. Because once you run out of quests, you're done. So it's amusing to watch as everybody in the world is going broke. And you're actually seeing governors who control entire areas taking all the money out of their guild bank and leaving their guilds to die.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you all sorts of stories about how this sequence goes.
Yeah.
And they're none of them end very prettily.
No, it's interesting, and Amazon Game Studios is just like, whoops. All right, man, we're working on it. So,
They are. I'm calling from Seattle. They're a local upstart publisher, just getting their feet wet. You know, give them a chance. Maybe when they get some resources.
that is what everybody's saying on the forums. They keep calling them a small indie studio.
That's right. They're little. Look,
It's a little,
they
little
they
studio.
just
Just a little indie studio struggling for resources to fix their broken game.
It's
Exactly.
their first popular game that they've been able to release that, like had a following.
Yeah,
So just getting started.
it's getting started.
It is impressive. Other than that, I've been playing Back for Blood, and kudos to that studio. They've made a really good game. I have finished the campaign on Recruit, and we've moved on to Veteran. We're about halfway through, and that game gets really hard. So
Yeah.
I'm very pleased with it so
I
far.
was gonna say, yeah, it was pretty tough on the easiest mode we played the other day. So
Yeah.
We have probably wiped in Veteran 3 dozen times at
Wow.
least just to get halfway through the game. It's wild. Like the mission cards are like, you get a boss, but also all of the mutations are armored, and also they're ferocious, and you get additional hordes, and there's crows, and every door is a secure door, and you're like, oh good, and then you walk into the map and you shoot one zombie and the bullet misses and hits a police car and alarm goes off. The timer for the horde hits 0 and suddenly you got 3 hordes on you, 5 mutants, and an ogre throwing stuff around and trying to murder you, and you're like, all right, well, this is just how it ends. We had a good run. It's been 60 seconds and we're gone. So
good God.
Gravy. I haven't. Okay, so I did play a game, but that wasn't the important part. I played the Avengers, the game released by Ubisoft, which had a very interesting start. But really, what was fantastic was how I played it. It has been released on Xbox Game Pass, so if you have that service, you can download it as part of your subscription. But what was especially interesting is, since I have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, I was able to play it on the cloud. I didn't download it at all. We've all been there when Zycia downloads something and he's like, we're like, this is the game of the moment and we need 3 of us to play. And he's like, oh wait, it's going to take me 45 minutes to download and update it. And we're like,
That must
but
be a very large
start
game. It's like 60 gigs
15.
at least.
Yes, at least 60 gigs. So we've all been there where it just takes forever to install it. You got to download it. It's got to write out to the drive. It's got to do an update and write again. And then it's got to launch. I installed nothing. I picked the game and within 15 seconds, it was showing up on my screen and I could play it. And everything was super responsive.
That's great.
It was incredible. Like I did a little bit of this earlier with Stadia, but the problem with Stadia is that you have to have other people on Stadia to play multiplayer. Whereas if you have this on the Xbox Cloud,
That's not the problem with Stadia.
well, okay,
Yeah.
it's not the main problem, but it's one of the problems. But here it is
Sorry,
on a
that was
platform.
totally unfair. I feel bad for even being that person right now.
No, it's fine.
It's totally
Like-
fair.
We've
Like,
made
I
the jokes.
think,
It's fine.
I think my controller is languishing down in the bottom of this desk here for Stadia, which has since been canceled. But no, like you're on a platform that other people are playing on, so you can play multiplayer if you want. without like jumping through the hoops of somebody having to buy it for a different platform than what they originally bought it for. And it was snappy. The graphics look great. It like there's a lot of the problem with
Sure. What is the game?
early.
What
This
was
is a
the
game,
game?
yeah.
What was the
Oh,
name
the
of the game?
The Avengers. So
The
it's
the
Marvel,
Avengers. Yeah,
the
okay.
Marvel
I haven't played that
Avengers.
yet. Cool.
Oh, it's fun. You play as Camilla Khan, Miss Marvel.
Yep.
And who, from my understanding, the story is fantastic. They portray her very nicely. And they've added on to the story. They've got a great Black Panther story that they have added on since then as some DLC.
Yeah.
And something that plagued a lot of these early streaming of games, streaming the game to your computer as opposed to Twitch, was that because it was rendering the video on this server farm somewhere and just sending you the video and you were sending back your controller inputs, that it suffered from a lot of things of sending high bandwidth video to you, that you could get color banding, you could get blockiness and pixelization. And I was playing this game that has, I mean, it's a Marvel universe. And it's based more off the comics than the movies. So there's a lot of color. There's a lot of stuff going on. And it looked fantastic. Like it was smooth, looked great. I'm excited to continue to have this like feature where I don't install games. I just can play them.
Until the internet goes out, and then you're screwed.
Yeah.
Then you don't have
But
anything to
then,
play.
but then I have board games and I have card games.
That is
and,
true.
Because I mean, like, to be honest, there's a ton of games that I have installed that won't work if the internet goes out, like Destiny. Yeah. And even games that aren't even multiplayer have these hooks into the internet that a lot of times the internet goes out, you can't play the game anyway. So, I mean, Clash of Clans, I mean, that's a great phone game, but you cannot play it unless you connect to the internet.
Yeah.
So, so I've been playing the Xbox Cloud so far, and it's been pretty awesome.
Great. It's pretty great. I want to put in a shout out for the next great Marvel game, by the way, which is Guardians of the Galaxy. It's coming out in a couple days, and it is phenomenal.
Tell us about it.
It's great. It is a game where it's a single player walkthrough game, right? And you're like, oh well, we've seen a million of those, but you haven't seen it with these characters, and the characters are. It probably is the funniest game I've ever seen.
Okay.
In this kind of environment. They make incredibly poor decisions throughout, and you're just like, those are my choices. All right, fine. Because that a group of dependable superheroes might have some different options.
Yeah, I've heard great things about it, and I've heard the fact that it works fantastic as a single player game. That it even avoids some of the pitfalls that other single player, like it's a linear experience, but that's because it's telling a story, and that's one of the great things about it. So I am also looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Well, I and I've mentioned before, got twin daughters, and today was an asynchronous day. What is an asynchronous day? You
Not
ask.
a no bones day.
Question.
It's not a no bones day.
No, it's not a no bones day. It is definitely a lot of work for the parents. It's essentially it. I don't know if other kids' charter schools do this, but it's basically a teacher work day. Yeah, but my daughters love board games. They love video games, but they do love board games. And there's a game that we played that one of my best friends passed down to us because I don't think you can find it anymore. Is Feed the Kitty. So
Kelly, this is PG-13.
I know. I love the name. It makes me laugh. But so Feed the Kitty, it's a lot like Left, Right, Center. And you've got 2 dice where you pass one of your you got a bowl to feed the kitty. And you've got all these little teeny tiny mice. If you can see, hold on, there you go.
Those
Little
are,
teeny tiny
those
mice.
are adorable.
Yeah. And so you get the arrow, you have to pass one of your mice to the left. If you get a bowl, you have to feed the kitty. That's the name. And then if the kitty is sleeping, you do nothing. So you've got one, you can use 2 dice or just one, depending on the age of your children. And my girls love this game. They're 6 years old. They started playing it when they were like 4. And anytime friends come over, or when friends used to come over, we'd play. They would play this game. We play it like a lot. So if you have kids, you can still find this game on eBay because I looked last year to send it to my niece. But it's a super cute game.
Yeah, that's nothing like the left, right, center I've played.
Yeah.
There was money. There was
Yeah.
money involved in the one I played.
Yeah. So we actually did just.
This one's called Feed the Kitty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There better be money on this.
Yeah.
Again,
So,
Mike,
Fair
different
enough.
kitty.
Yeah. Zycia, you may be inheriting this game at
Awesome.
some
There you
point.
go.
Heads
Yeah,
up.
that sounds
Yeah.
cool.
I love
It's-
the concept of hand-me-down games by age.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
awesome. I love it.
Yes.
I love that. I've never heard that before. I love that concept.
Yeah.
That basically, as your kids go through development cycles, they age out of things, so you pass that on to a person with a slightly lower, so the
Yeah.
younger kids. Like
Yeah.
that's
It's
awesome.
like
I think
been
it's
Kelly
better
for
than
me.
clothes. Yeah, it's been better than
Fantastic.
clothes. Yeah.
So
I think
Mike,
it's great.
is there anything you've been
Yes.
playing recently?
I've been doing a lot of puzzle stuff. I can tell you something that you should do on Halloween. On Halloween, you should go to the Washington Post site and do Evan Bernholz's Halloween puzzle suite. It's really bite sized. Sounds like it's really big, but it's not. It's a pretty good. Is a pretty easy size for you to do. It'll take you an hour, maybe, or an hour or two, and it's really great. It's a fun little crossword variants and things like that. Highly recommended. So Evan Bernholz is the editor of the Washington Post puzzle and did this really clever little thing. So I recommend that. It's been a really nice time for puzzle games, as I mentioned, but some really cool things have come out, like the new puzzle boat is about to come out, or maybe even has come out, from Foggy Broom. It's not a name probably a lot of people are familiar with, but if you like doing interconnected puzzles, I highly recommend you look up the words puzzle boat immediately, and because the new one is out and it's coming out, and it's really good. He's really good. We've been doing a lot of sort of escape room in a box kind of things. I've got one here that's on deck. I haven't played it yet.
I have one I haven't played as
And
well.
I'm looking forward to it. It's called the Curious Elevator of Mr. Hinks.
Now, is that
Which
the
I'm looking-
service that you're using? Is that the escape room in a box service?
It's not. I actually don't know. I wish I could say I know how this one got to me. Sometimes people they're from Bluefish Games. Sometimes people just send me stuff,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
kind of nice.
That must be nice.
If
If
yeah,
anybody
I know-
wants to send us stuff.
Yeah.
You should. No, but I mean, I think it was like, I do think it was kind of like, we made this game, we would like you to see if you like it. So, but that one's on deck. But yeah, that's kind of been keeping our attention
Cool.
lately. We've also obviously just been playing games that we're making, right? So one of the things that's coming out now, maybe is out already now I think about it, we've been playing a lot of Detective because our new expansion for Detective just came out. It's called Petty Officers, and
I love the
they yeah, well, they came to me and they were like, "We want you to do a detective case," and I'm like, "I want to do something really fun." They're like, "Okay," and I said, "I want to introduce pets to the game. All your characters get pets, but they're useful pets, right?" And so I'm like, my dog. They're useful, and so it's just they did such great art for it. And so Detective is one of my favorite games of the last few years. It has these detective cases that you go on and you get cards and you try to figure out what the right choices to make in the limited time and pressure situation that you have to get to the end of the case. And if you like that, I highly recommend you check out Detective, and then get a copy of Petty Officers because it's super fun.
Awesome.
You have to clear if you can. Your goal in this one is to clear a tiger from charges of attempted murder.
Oh, that's great.
That's the basis of the case.
Love that.
It's really hard to imagine that anyone else did the crime, given that the suspect is a tiger. And the person was eviscerated. But you're detectives. You got to do your work.
I love it.
Well, hang tight for just a few minutes here, and we're going to have a short ad break, and we'll be back in just a minute. And we're back as normal. And
So dramatic today.
I know.
Totally
Very
normal.
dramatic.
Everything's fine. We also
Everything's
have
fine.
a dog, a puppy. hanging
Yes,
out
this is
with us.
Guybrush.
This is
Yeah.
Guybrush.
Guybrush.
Guybrush is on camera, just hanging out. He's
Yep.
gonna answer the rest of the questions for Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got just as much knowledge as I do. So
He's like, I know
Okay.
Mike told you earlier this, but here's what he should have.
here's the truth. I will explain the truth to you.
He's
I do
he's
not
like
ever. Yeah,
He's
his
like-
version.
my version of the 100 best games contains much more dog games.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no
His-
fetch.
his ver-
there's no.
His version of it would be, I never get fed. You should feed me
Feed the
because I
doggy
never get
instead of feed the
never
cat.
get fed. You feed the doggy. Absolutely. All right. Well, he's moved on. He's no longer interested in us. So
Oh well, maybe
Yeah.
next time. Well, let's get into Kelly's corner.
do it.
My music.
I like your
Right.
music.
Thanks. I do too. So Mike, I don't know if you watched the podcast, but since as far as I'm concerned, Halloween season starts September 1st. I've been doing my Halloween DIYs since the beginning of September.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this.
Oh, so this one is actually probably not the best one. This is a real softball. I've done some really weird stuff. Bloody like fake heads and stuff like that. But so the
Spiders going up the pedestal
Oh.
sink.
spiders and cockroaches gonna pedestal sink. That one's pretty disgusting too.
I love it.
Yeah. So this one, I know people see that there are these skeletons and you can buy a skeleton for, $40 or $50 and they're really great. A lot of them are positionable. So I highly suggest getting a positionable one, but you're like, I brought this skeleton home. What am I going to do with it now? Well, the one on the right of Brian's screen is a piano, is a skeleton playing a piano. And so I did put a wig on her. If you've got like jewelry or like just an accented piece of clothing, definitely put that on your skeleton. The one on the right is Grace Skelly. She has been a part of. We actually
Oh my God.
literally call her Grace Skelly. She actually used to be a prop in her office year round. So people used to come in and interview with me, and we'd be like, "This is Grace Skelly." By the way, our department is really into Halloween. So sweet Grace came with me after I left the company. But she's got an amazing wig on, so definitely pose them, and if you can, like move their jaws so that they've got like an expression. Super cute. And then the other one I do not have a name for, so open to
gotta give 'em a name.
suggestions. Yeah. She, because they're all girls in this house. This is probably not the best picture. I need to get a better picture of her, but she's got a towel wrapped around her head and an eye mask on, and she's relaxing in my bathtub with a glass of wine. So that's another thing you can do. That's a really cute thing if you're just having people over for dinner and it is Halloween season. stick her in a bathtub, or you can prop her up in the shower if she's posable. So that's my last Halloween DIY of 2021.
That means that people can't take a shower at your house when they come over.
They can if
I
they
mean,
like
if
take
they're,
a shower or
just
something.
coming for dinner, they probably.
You're not into that? Fair
I
enough.
mean, it depends on the party.
Also, that skeleton was living it up. Did you see how deep that tub was?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's the one room in our house that hasn't been renovated. My house was built in 1930, and yeah, people made some weird renovations in the 80s, and it's the one room that we have not renovated yet, and it is a like triangular, super deep tub that is straight out of like some creepy hotel. So obviously I love it. It's pretty amazing. So for any of the other Halloween DIYs, I think we've posted some of them on Twitch or not Twitch, but Twitter and Instagram. So check those out.
I also love that it wasn't just enough that Grace Skelly is sitting there playing the piano, but in the background are other skeletons on the bookcase, including like a bat skeleton, a cat skeleton, a mermaid skeleton, which is fantastic, including like the let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more, like including the tail fin really just hanging out there.
Yeah. So my little skeleton collection, that's another thing that I do suggest. Like if you're into Halloween, don't buy just like one or two of something. So my little skeleton collection has grown over the years. I have the cat skeleton. Her mandible is positionable and it has a spring on it. So I actually made a little ball of yarn. And so I don't know if you can see in there, in her mouth is that ball of yarn. So I'll take some other close-up pictures, but I also have a frog skeleton on the other bookcase, and so I have a little fly that it's like hanging in the sky or hanging off the bookshelf from some invisible thread. Also have a bird that gets perched up on a little twig that's hanging, so that it's kind of like ghostly, and that's the stuff that I do in my house, and that my husband is like, why does it take you so long to hang up the decorations? This is why.
Hey, Kelly. Hey, Kelly. I don't think I've ever said this to a woman before. Do you want to see my bathroom?
Yes, I do. Because I feel like I understand the context.
Oh my god.
All right. This is all my wife's.
We're getting a craft tour.
She's gonna be my new best friend.
She's gonna kill me for doing this.
This is amazing.
She's gonna kill me because I'm showing off our bathroom.
Welcome to our first episode of SASS Crib.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh yes. Oh, beautiful.
Shower curtain.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's the vulture, right?
Oh my gosh. Did she make that vulture?
Some of this is homemade, but most of it's I think store bought. But yeah, like this is every day.
See
every day for us.
Thank you. If it were up to me, all of our decorations would be up all year. Sorry. Please, kudos to your wife.
They're not to be clear. They're not, to be fair, they're not Halloween decorations.
No, yeah.
They're our bathroom.
No,
yes. Exactly.
My husband, like, there are decorations that I get every year that I'm like, this is staying up. So I had a very, very good friend who just recently passed away, and she had made me years ago this little birdhouse, but it's a haunted birdhouse. It's got little skeletons and bats and stuff on it.
Sure.
And when she gave it to me, I was like, this is
Sorry, these are also from the bathroom.
Nice.
I just handed this by my wife, who is apparently not killing me for showing off our bathroom.
Please tell her. It's amazing. Yeah. So
anyway, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Personal fun things like those become permanent installations in our home. They do not leave. If it's super creepy, it gets to stay. So and a lot of times my husband's like, this is weird, but he's like, this one's really cool. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's how it works, right? I mean, there's points where it's clearly been bought. Yvonne and I have had this discussion many times, where sometimes it's bought, and I'm like, okay, I get what you're going for, and the moment is already passing,
yeah.
right? Like it's like, okay, yeah, it's cute, whatever, good thing. And then there's things like, this is never leaving. This
Yeah.
is staying. This is
It's
staying forever. Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I want to see staring at me when I go to pee in the middle of the night and don't even turn on the light, and it's just sitting there.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
I've scared myself with I was saying
Oh,
in
yeah.
an older podcast, that guy. So I put Michael Myers up in random places and scare myself.
Sure.
There's something else recently that was like, ooh, got myself. Like I'm like, I love being scared and freaked out.
Not myself. It's
Yeah.
really funny. David.
The bathroom that my girls use, that pedestal sink has spiders that crawl up it. But there's
Mhm.
also, this is disgusting. This is gonna be for next year's Halloween DIYs. Mike, you're gonna throw up in your mouth a little
Oh,
bit.
great.
A spider egg sack.
Yeah, love
might
it.
post that one. Yeah, it's disgusting. It looks amazing.
That's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
But I got a spider that is motion censored or a sound sensor, and so if like you like close the door hard or something, it drops from the ceiling. So I hear the girls all the time going to go pee, and they go, because they know that'll make the spider drop, and then it climbs back up. Yeah.
It's sound activated.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
Bruno,
god.
Not girls.
Bruno, apparently
What's
this is what
Mike?
happens when you play D&D at a young age, is what I'm hearing.
Okay,
You can definitely see that
They
coming.
are prepared.
Yeah.
so you've said it
Yeah.
enough
Ooh.
times, Kelly.
There you
that-
go. Yeah. That's good. That's good. I like that.
Those are my cockroaches. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad this was my favorite. This is the segment I was looking forward to the most, and I'm
Thank
glad.
you.
I'm glad it paid off in every way. Because
And I am so glad I got to see your bathroom. That's amazing.
yeah,
That's
I was-
amazing.
well, I didn't know quite where it was gonna go, but I was like, nah, I
Yeah.
gotta show her. I
Yeah,
gotta show her.
now I have to. I'm committed.
And I'm like,
Thank you.
I love this one where you have the line of spiders going into the air vent or
Mhm.
coming
That's
out.
where they
of the
come
air
from.
vent.
Coming out
Coming
of
out of
it.
there.
Exactly. Yeah, coming out.
oh
Yeah.
man,
So-
Yvonne, are you still here? You need to see this. I mean, this is a work of art. Okay.
I'm glad.
so
I'm glad I
this
pulled
is
these up.
Kelly's. This is Kelly's
Daughter's
bathroom,
bathroom.
or daughter's bathroom.
Yeah.
There's a line of spiders and cockroaches coming out of the air vent.
Dad wins.
Isn't it
And then-
great?
well, yeah, that's the spiders. Here's the cockroach one. And it's,
Look at that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
oh, and,
There
and
you go.
even better,
There you
the faucet is in the middle of the skull there.
Yeah.
Yvonne said if we had that kind of pedestal, we'd be doing that.
Yes. Yes. Hey, you can do it with you don't have to do it with pedal sink, like, but I do
Exact-
use
right. She's reminding me. I totally forgot about that. Oh, Yvonne, when we first moved into this house, we're gonna paint the bathroom. She started by writing the word "red rum" on the floor.
Yeah.
She painted that on the floor. So it was kind of like, yeah, it's funny, but also we really need to paint the floor.
That's a good way to do it.
Looking at that every day.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It was
Oh,
under the
that's
vinyl.
beautiful.
It was like under the vinyl. Yeah.
That's
Hold on. Come here. Yeah, tell the story. Hold on. This is a special guest appearance.
A special
there
guest.
was a guest today.
I can't believe Mike's making me tell the story. Oh, I look like hell. Don't put me on.
No worries.
So
You look
we had a-
fantastic.
we had a leak in the bathroom. So that's what set us to repainting and redesigning it.
Mhm.
And when we pulled the floor up, but before they could put and I was painting the walls, but before they put the new flooring in, I took the bright red paint, wrote the word red rum across the floor, and then
Oh.
dipped my hands in the red paint and dragged it to the heating vent. So it's
Oh,
underneath
wow.
it's underneath the current flooring for the next people to find.
Yes.
Oh
That's
my
amazing. That's
We
beautiful.
did- We
Yeah.
did something similar in my daughter's bedroom before they were born. So we
Huh?
put down like this tile linoleum in one part of the bedroom. Same thing. We're like murder or help us or something like that.
Yeah, so the next people that get this house and they decide to lift that floor, they're going to be a little worried, I think.
I love it so much.
Okay, headed you back to Mike.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, that is awesome.
That's amazing.
Oh my.
By the way,
God.
Yvonne never does that. She
That-
hates being on
oh.
here. So that was really fun.
Please tell her thank
was
you
awesome.
so much.
That was great.
Yes,
I
yes.
totally forgot that that's still under our floorboards. That's fantastic.
That's a great highlight. I love it.
Yeah. I can't wait till somebody comes in here and goes, "Oh, this tile's terrible. We should just rip this down."
Let's get rid of
Oh,
the tile.
you made a mistake. You didn't know about the murder room.
What was the guy that used to live here? Wasn't he like a game designer that
I was
made
starting
horror
game
games?
designer.
Horror games.
Horror game designer? Maybe he did his playtests?
Maybe these aren't really games. These is a cry for help.
Maybe. It could be. Oh, it's not a cry for help. Not from me. There are
There-
cries for help, but not
Yeah.
from the game designer.
There's a reason why you you do test plays.
Yeah.
Play testing is not just play.
It helps have a good turnover of playtesters as well.
Yes.
Because
Happy playtesters.
Well, there's a
Very
reason
important to our
that every
cause.
idea that Mike has gets published. I mean, if you
That's
guys
right. That's very true. Anyway, that was a hysterical segment. I love it.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Runner Diva from chat even spoke up and said that was an awesome story.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad we can entertain.
Yeah.
That's the first time
Absolutely.
literally anybody has been shown my bathroom on camera.
We're
This is
first.
the inaugural.
Gotta love it.
Nice.
First time for everything.
I mean, I thought the scoop was the word museum, and then
No,
here
it's
we've got
my-
the bathroom tour, which is even
Yeah.
better.
Exactly.
What's the
We
weird
went from
part?
one amazing room to another.
And the part that's
Yeah.
gonna take off on YouTube, the viral part is gonna be his bathroom. Like,
Yes.
have you seen his
absolutely.
bathroom?
I'm on board. Although I mean, our stuff is great, but we didn't do that spider thing. That spider thing. No.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
So,
Kelly, we got a new title to the podcast.
There you go. Heck yeah. Oh, hold on. Whoa. Uh-oh.
Oh, man.
Hold on. My computer just panicked a little bit. Okay.
You're
Oh,
fine.
mine did that earlier.
Yeah. Not okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's going to be a problem. Chrome's freaking out. Okay. So I did have another article for you, but you probably can't see me right now.
We can see.
Okay.
Oh, we can see you fine.
Okay.
Everything's
We
fine.
can hear you.
see
We can see
you.
you. You're fine.
yeah.
Hey. Forgive me. Okay, so I had another article for you that now I can't see. Of a town in the UK called Ipswich. And
Oh, I know Ipswich.
okay, well, have you this is a couple of years ago. They heard nursery rhyme. It was
Ring around the rosy.
It's
raining, it's
pouring.
pouring. Yeah, the old man is snoring. But it was like in the middle of the night, this song was being sung by like this creepy little kid sounding voice, right? For like a year, and nobody knew where it was coming from. And everybody was like, "This is really creepy. This has got to stop. This is a bad prank. Whatever." So a lot of investigation later, they found that it was coming from some building estate, and that it was a motion sensing camera that was designed to, alert them to somebody trying to rob the place. But it was actually being activated by spiders crawling across the camera.
Love it.
So, yeah, at random times, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 5 a.m. And they were playing this song because they thought that playing this song would deter somebody who was trying to steal something. So, super cute story out of
I got a story that's something like that.
yeah,
That I would love to tell you.
please.
So we made a game. I think I mentioned it earlier, called the Marvel Superheroes Adventure Game. Back in 1999, 2000, and we got to do this really cool interactive event at Gen Con where we built Manhattan out of foam core and cardboard boxes, and we
That's
brought
cool.
all these brought all these action figures with us, and we were gonna wreck the place. Right? It was just like football field size Manhattan thing, and we're just gonna smash everything. So the bad guy for this encounter was Galactus, right? The big visitor from space is going to eat the Earth. And so we got an action figure of him, but it was not like an action figure. It was an action figure. It was
Okay.
gigantic, right? And it had a little button in its chest. And when you pressed it, it said, "I hunger," which was great, right? It was like something you could just say, "Oh, look, Galactus is hungry. You better do something to stop him from eating the Earth." And so I gave we this was a huge shipment, right? We gave all this stuff to our shipping team, all the foam core, all the cardboard buildings, all the action figures, and Galactus. And they packed everything up, did a great job, but they put Galactus upside down and on top. And so as people were walking by the shipping area, they would cause a little disruption in the thing, and the sound would go, "I hunger," from this box, and so freak everybody out, right? But but somebody in shipping would go, "No, don't worry about that. That's just the action figures." Like, okay, no problem. So we
That's
shipped
just
it off.
one of Mike's boxes. It's okay.
Yeah, don't worry. So shipped it off to Gen Con. And I get to Gen Con, I'm going to go pick up everything. And I find all of our stuff, all the boxes, all the stuff, except this one box. I can't find it anywhere. And I'm like, this is kind of an important box. So I go around the loading dock, and I find somebody. I said, "Hey, I'm looking for this box for this game that I'm running. It looks something like this. Do you know what it is?" He said, "Oh yeah, it's still in the loading area." I was like, "Well, why wasn't it unloaded with everything else?" He said, "Because no one wants to go near that thing. It's haunted." And so I'm like, because it came off the loading truck, right? And
I hunger.
I hunger coming from inside the box. And like, put that thing down.
He's like, "No one wants to touch that box."
Oh
Right.
my god.
That's right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness gracious.
So there you go. So I
Ah.
empathize with the spider story.
Love it.
Yep.
That's a good one. The last one that I have isn't really a scary story. I guess it gets kind of weird. So there's Minecraft has mobs. Yeah, so sometimes there's skeletons. Sometimes there are things that are non-combative. These peaceful mobs. There was a guy who ran across this peaceful mob of rabbits and tried to corral them. And his name's Regal Fuzz, REGALFUZZ on Instagram, or on not Instagram, on Reddit. So he actually tried to corral them and
Breeding them.
maintain them, breed them. Well, he walked in. There was some rain falling. Didn't think anything of it. It's just your rainstorm was going to pass. And goes to leave, picks a carrot, goes to leave. One of the rabbits escapes. And then he goes back and looks at the rabbits. And all of a sudden, a huge bolt of lightning kills all of the rabbits. Turning them
I was
into
not expecting that.
turning them into rabbit meat. And he was just like, what the fuck? Like you can see him when like
I know.
He's just like looking like, what happened?
Yeah,
One-
Because Rabbit meets a thing in the game, right? And
yes,
so,
yeah.
so the game is just like, we made you something cool, and he's like, those are my
Yeah.
rabbits.
So
it's even funnier that some of the meat is
They-
just normal rabbit meat, but some of the meat got cooked by the
Yeah,
Latin.
no, those are two different things.
raw meat,
There's
uncooked
raw rabbit
running
meat,
cooked
and
meat.
yeah, those are totally different things in the game.
Yeah. So
And,
he's
you
like,
know,
what?
it wouldn't be such a tragedy except that he pulled out that carrot, and because the
Right. It looks
carrot-
like he triggered it.
Yes.
well, the carrot so the behavior of mobs in
Yeah.
Minecraft is if you bring out their food that they want, which is how you actually breed them, they'll all crowd around you. So of course for rabbits it's carrots. He brings out a carrot, so they all swarm to the gate where he was at, and that's where the lightning happened to hit.
Yeah.
If he hadn't pulled out the carrot, he would have only lost 2 or 3.
Dude, that just had me cackling. I was like,
So
Oh my
funny.
God.
It's
This poor
so funny.
8-bit rabbits.
I don't know if you saw, but I tried to keep the mask on through as much of that story as I could.
Okay.
Oh, I did
didn't
see.
even-
I saw.
Sorry.
I
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I definitely appreciated it.
All right, well, let's get into our actual news.
Actual news.
I don't know where Mike's papers are. It's supposed to.
I actually want my news. This is now what I want from CNN and MSNBC. I just want them to come on and say, now the actual news. Because, right? Because if somebody says that, you know, well, wait a minute. Now I question everything.
What?
Now I question everything you've given me at any point.
There you go. You're welcome.
I love it.
Oh, that's
So in the news this week was YouTube, and YouTube was, trying to do the right thing. There's definitely a problem with YouTube,
How
and
many
these
stories begin this way.
I know.
YouTube, Twitch, whatever, was
Problem with
trying
YouTube.
to do the right thing, and is like Facebook was trying to do the right thing.
pretty much.
Well, absolutely true.
Then democracy
Ah.
fell.
There's certainly a problem with YouTube with content made for children, and there's some actual content made for children. There's people doing some real content for children out there that is good content, and very much equal in quality, if not better than stuff that you see on TV. But there's also just some not great content. Some of it is not truly made for children. I'm not going to go too much in that. That's a whole rabbit hole that is not fun to go down. And yes, they should take care of that.
No pun intended for the rabbits earlier, but I see what you did there.
Yeah, right. And then there's what YouTube is trying to do, which is they're going to demonetize videos that are made for kids, but they're of low quality. So what does low quality mean? Well, low quality to them means that it's something that is over commercialized, or doesn't seem to have very much value to it. Listen, I know most of us here have grown up at the time of Saturday morning cartoons, and
Yes.
I don't know of a cartoon that wasn't commercialized and monetized. Like G.I. Joe was made
Not
to
from
sell
1980.
toys.
Not from 1983 on, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, even the Smurfs was made to sell things, sell toys. Transformers made to sell toys. The real Ghostbusters absolutely made to sell toys, and that went on for 7-8 seasons. Like that's what a lot of this was made to do. So I'm not sure what they're trying to target here. It doesn't really make sense.
So, seen some of these videos. So, this you may be thinking I'm an awful parent. I
I thought that.
yeah, I know you did. But you're still my friend anyway. So the way I
I mean,
started
you
off
are the day drinker.
this is to be very clear.
That was when she was saying.
No,
Do
no,
not do unsafe drinking with my children. So
this is true. This is
yeah,
true.
Only safe.
But-
drinking.
You practice safe drinking with your
Always-
children.
always
This
present.
can't go well. This can't
God.
go very well.
I do not give my kids
Oh, man.
alcohol. There is
No.
always somebody
See?
that is sober to drive if there is an emergency.
She's digging a
just
hole
so
here.
No,
Oddly,
just-
that's
just
a
so-
law in
yeah,
the state.
yeah. Like I don't want somebody to think that this is what happened.
No,
yeah,
no.
because this is
No one
on
would think
YouTube and Twitch and everything. Oh, somebody might. I mean, but
Cancel culture.
so yeah, exactly. I'm gonna get canceled. Bye, guys. So when I started doing my mini making thing, I told you guys I watched these YouTube videos of people, making little mini cakes and stuff like that. And then it turned into, making, mini houses, and YouTube just sort of like decides next what you should be watching. So my daughters and I really like watching like Halloween DIY videos and stuff like that. And there was a moment when I stepped away, and it's almost like YouTube knew I was gone.
Yeah.
And I walked back, and there was like a children's show about, oh, let me unwrap these blind packs of all of these toys. And I was like, one, that's not educational. Two, that's clearly not a Halloween DIY. It was like, so people are
Ew.
making money off of these videos of, oh, this is really fun. And oh, check out this new toy. But the whole thing was targeted at selling your children these things. And we don't even have cable. My kids grew up on PBS. Like they didn't even know what a commercial was until YouTube, right? So the whole
It's not even that they're trying to sell,
Mhm.
because you brought up a very similar video that I was going to bring up, which is one of the most popular kids videos out there is when they just sit there and they open Kinder eggs or something
Yes.
similar, and they'll have a package of 100, and the video will just be a close up of their hands, and they'll open one after another, and they'll show the
Yeah.
little toy in it, and then they'll open the next one, and they'll open the next one, and they're not
It
even trying to
kills me.
sell anything, and they get
They are trying to sell
millions of views.
They are
yeah.
sponsored by Kinder, and
Oh, okay.
that's how they're making their money. Yeah,
Wow.
that's 100%.
The videos that my
We've been
friends' kids were watching were like this video. I'm not going to mention the name because it's just ridiculous. But basically, she's like, yeah, he loves that thing. And we were watching over his shoulder as he was watching it on his phone or his tablet or whatever. And it's like this lady, and she starts like busting out of her clothes and then has like this carrot, and she like deep throats the carrot. And we're like looking over his shoulder like, what the fuck? And like, I'm like, hey, friend. I'm like, do you know what your kid's watching? And she goes, oh, yeah, it's that one thing. I'm like, do you know that they're deep throating carrots? And she goes, what?
Yeah, right. No, it's not there.
No,
She was like,
you can't.
come here right now. You are not watching that anymore. And he's like, no. He's like a meltdown because he watches this all the time because it's for kids. Rabbit hole you were talking about. Back to carrots.
We get fair amount of offers to do things like pay money for unboxing videos
Oh, really?
of our stuff and things like that. This is not a. I mean,
Hey,
there are
I
certainly
will
people.
watch an unboxing video of your games
No,
all day
well,
long.
to be clear, there are many people who do it, and I don't want to impinge on the,
Yeah.
or, impugn the industry. Obviously,
Yeah.
Rodney Smith and those people, they do fantastic work. But there are plenty of people who have found the niche of, people hooked on YouTube videos or Twitch or TikTok. Will create content that is assistive to the publisher or manufacturer, but it's not from the manufacturer,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And the manufacturer thinks, well, I'm gaining something and doing nothing.
Yep.
So I'm on board with this, even if it costs a little bit of money.
Yeah.
We immediately created a policy that we would never
Not doing.
sell. We would never accept an offer to have our games reviewed for payment in any possible way, and that included unboxing videos and things like that. But this, I mean, this is all the right way to think about this is that it is an industry, not that it is a series of individual creators creating content. The industry exists, and it is quite unregulated. And so to begin with where we started, which is YouTube trying to do the right thing, I mean, I don't know whether they were trying to do the right thing, but they were definitely starting from the position of this is a Wild West that we need to rein in. They did that in August with something I hadn't heard of this one, which apparently is brand new. But in August they put out a whole bunch of things that we got notifications on about. You know, our videos aren't marketed to children, but we got all the same warnings that kids creators got because we make games, and so we're on some sort of list. And yeah, I mean, it was a pretty severe list intended to chill the creation of. I think I'm now putting motives out there, which probably is a bad idea. It has the effect of chilling the creation of some of this content, which may be good or bad depending on where you stand on it. But it does not even remotely surprise me that the move of demonetizing it makes it less likely that the creators will be compensated, and thus, less likely to do it. I don't know if it's the right move or not. What I do know is that it is consistent with YouTube's approach that they have been doing all year. Probably because they saw what was happening with Facebook and decided not to be Facebook.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And well done. Yeah. And what they're undertaking is an enormous feat. Like people are always like, "Oh, how did that get past Facebook? How did that get past YouTube? Isn't there somebody watching this?" Well, when you have literally millions of people per minute uploading content.
Yep.
You think I have millions of people reviewing all of it ahead of time? No, there's algorithms and there's other, there's different code that's trying to do all that. It's not perfect, but at least they're trying something.
Yeah, and that's all the individuals. I mean, Mike hit the nail on the head that there's actual industries behind it. I mean, there's a full industry behind those whole, like, I don't know, 5-minute life hack videos that go by several other names. If you look into them, most of them all pyramid up to the same company. And they actually do market testing and do algorithms themselves. Like a lot of their stuff isn't feasible, doesn't work, it's dumb, it doesn't matter. It's having certain type of hands in there, models looking a certain way, quick video, only so long, and do something inventive or, and things like that. Whether it makes sense or not doesn't matter. Whether it's practical, whether it's even possible, doesn't matter. They just, and there's like a food one that does that too. There's a food one that does these like, all these great 5-minute recipe hacks. And like some of them legit would never work.
Yeah. Oh, I've tried some of them. Trust me.
The foodie ones, like the little, I know what you're talking about. That's fun.
It's important
Some
to
of them
understand. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
go ahead.
That's fine. Go ahead.
I think the important thing to understand is that, I gave you my reaction or my company's reaction when we were approached on these things. That's not a universal reaction.
No.
Oh, it's not.
Right. Like, I mean, the other people look at it as just like a form of paid advertising.
Yeah,
And,
exactly what it is.
and so it should be treated as advertising, which a lot of people, I mean, you'd have to be reasonably older to remember this, but a lot of people had that reaction too. You brought up G.I. Joe and Transformers. There were a series of congressional hearings about that. right? And how these were essentially 30-minute commercials. And so
Oh boy,
there
were
different
they?
there were different regulations for commercials than there are for fictional content, right? And there was a strong argument that the Saturday morning cartoons that we all grew up with were just, should be subject to the same kind of
Yeah.
regulations that commercials are. And at the time I remember thinking, that's ridiculous, what are you talking about? Now I completely empathize with that position. I've completely turned on it because fundamentally, it helped that I worked for Hasbro for a long time, but it's like you understand that this is the lifeblood of the business, and if you don't participate in it, you don't get the rewards that other competitors are doing. And so,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna praise YouTube for this because I don't really know enough about it, but I do think that there is certainly a sense that children are a resource, that YouTube believes that it has some level of control over, and that it is advertising to the people who are making videos, and it should be smart about how it uses that resource that it didn't create.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and the thing is too, on the other side, there's actually really good content for children too. Like, and one example to me is Blippi, which I never knew any idea who Blippi was until I had a kid. And then as I've seen it, like, he does a bunch of educational videos on just like normal day stuff. Like, here's farm equipment. Let me show you all these parts of a farm thing. Like, and it's like all this weird stuff that you would never think of, but it's really educational. And even to the point now where he's like at your local department stores, like you can find his like little like almost action figures and like parts that are his like story, and like you could see all of these action figures and things on the shelf now. And this was something just from YouTube.
Is it being monetized?
I mean,
Yeah, right. I mean,
I would expect
the word educational does not remove the possibility of monetization by any standards. In fact, it encourages it quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, but his stuff's
that's
actually
true.
good. Like it's educational, but he's also, I'm sure, making money off of it. Because
What's interesting for me with what you brought up earlier is the concept of low value, right? Like this is the first time I've heard a policy that applies to some but not others based on an evaluation of the content on a sort of aesthetic level. And what bothers me about that, and I have no basis to be bothered by it, but it still bothers me, is the presumption that my good friends at Disney and Warner Brothers will be somehow exempted from this rule, because and maybe deservedly so, right? But because their stuff is of high quality, but it seems like almost a given, right? That that the larger creators of content will somehow mysteriously be unaffected by this policy, and it would shock me if they weren't.
Yeah, because Solo was such a great movie. I don't know if
now that's bad. We can't have that fight.
Yeah, and in this point, I'm going by this Engadget article, which they say by YouTube's definition, the low quality is include overly commercial videos and ones that encourage bad behaviors.
Kids, don't leap off a rooftop unless you really do have gargoyle wings.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it's all subjective, but at least I guess like what Mike was saying is they're putting some sort of rule around it so that they can at least remove content or remove the money part of the content that they're having as they deem necessary. Because there's going to be things that are going to cross a line, and they're going to be like, well, why is that? Why are they getting paid and not me? And it's like, well,
yeah,
here's that court battle.
Well, and that's touching on videos that are marketed towards children. And I say marketed towards children because being as the person who like edits and uploads on YouTube on a regular basis, it's literally a checkbox.
Yeah.
That's
Is
right.
your
We-
video made for kids?
We
Yeah.
don't check that box.
I
Ever.
never
Yeah,
check
we
that
never
box.
check that
Ever.
box.
Sometimes we're like, is this made for
Um,
adults? We're like, ooh, that's
Yeah.
that's kind of
Like-
questionable.
No, it's a conscious choice. Even no matter what the content is,
Yeah.
it is a
Yeah.
some of our stuff should not be sold to children. Other
Yeah.
stuff though absolutely should be, and we still never check that box.
Yeah, never check.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. But that's not even touching the rabbit hole that you can go down when you start looking where the videos themselves feature children and the children become the monetization. There's a lot of family vlogging stuff out there, and some of these people have gotten shut down because people found out they were faking stuff for the camera. And there's the whole idea of and I don't mean to start a whole conversation about this, because boy, we could spend hours talking about this, but there's the whole idea is like, okay, are they child actors or not? Or do they get paid? Or what happens with the money for the monetization? And they're like, well, no, they want to do this for entertainment value. And it's a whole crazy Pandora's box that is just now being like kind of opened to where that's probably the next big thing that YouTube should start looking at, because they certainly don't want to get on the wrong side of the government for child endangerment or child labor or anything like that.
We certainly are in a time when our social media is discovering that people care quite a bit about their harmful effects on America. And notably, I mean, the reason I can keep saying this about Facebook, right, was because Frances Haugen was kind enough to tell us everything about them in front of Congress. And so, you know, I mean, when we looked at Instagram's effect on teen girls' mental health, and you go, oh, wait, I may not have connected those dots before, right?
Mhm.
Like, you know, I think I'm not, it's important to understand that this is not regulation. It is not governmental regulation. It's self-policing in abject fear of governmental regulation,
Yes.
right? Like,
Uh,
if they don't police themselves, they will be policed,
yeah.
and they will not choose how under those circumstances. And so that's why Facebook is running scared at the moment. And, you know, Google's not dumb. They're watching this and thinking, we have this massive amount of content on YouTube. What are we going to do to not be the next Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah.
Because
And
he's
so-
handling it so well.
It's perfect. Honestly, I think the right move clearly is for him to build a rocket ship and go into space.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's clearly
What do you need
the
to
solution
do?
to whatever problem ails you as a billionaire.
Yep.
Build a rocket ship.
Clearly. But just
Go
like
into space.
stay there. Just stay there. Just don't come back down.
Oh, they come back? Oh, I hadn't heard that
Yeah.
part.
You
Yeah.
know, just make them stay up there for a while.
I mean,
At least
I
a
think this self-regulation is such a good point too. It's the reason why we have, you know, the ESRB for games. Certainly that came out through self-regulation so that the government didn't start regulating. It's kind of where we've got some of the self-regulation around loot boxes, although some of that is actually through government regulation, especially like, you know, when you have in some of the Asian countries where they must show the odds for the loot boxes, or at least have them published somewhere. Movie ratings, another great example of self-regulation. And I'm not going to comment on how good or bad the movie ratings and how inconsistent they are. There's whole documentaries on that you can go check out. But it is an example of like, hey, let's regulate ourselves before the government does. Kind of switching back towards the positive in a way, because some of this is very much showing how even the early education was able to get monetized in ways. I have a couple of shows. One of them was brand new today to Zycia, which is the electric
It
company.
wasn't today. It
Can't
was
believe
like
it.
a couple of days ago.
50 years old.
Wait, hold on. What? Well,
He did
what do you
not
mean?
know
I had never
about
heard
the electric
of the
company.
electric
You've
company.
never heard of the okay.
Never.
So, you know, right. We need to fix you.
I need to fix
Yes, we have said this a lot of times.
Yeah, you're not the first to say that, Mike.
Yeah, we need.
I mean,
to
have
fix
you heard of Morgan Freeman?
Yeah,
Have you heard of Spider-Man?
yeah.
I mean, he was like the breakout star of the Electric Company.
Huh.
A lot of people's first exposure to Spider-Man was in
Yes.
the Electric Company.
That's hilarious.
Bill Cosby was on it.
Bill Cosby was on
Uh,
it. He was a major element of that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's got the greatest theme song of all time. It had Letterman. Let's not forget Letterman.
Mm-hmm.
Letterman was great. It was the best show.
It was a very good show, and I'm really sorry that you're so young, Stacia.
Yeah.
that
I mean, I've heard of
you-
Sesame Street. I used to watch
No,
that, and I
because
still
Sesame Street
watch
is still
Sesame
being
Street.
made. Hold on, Sesame Street is still being made. If you hadn't heard of Sesame
Yeah.
Street, we would
Yeah,
question
you're living
whether
under
you'd
a
heard-
rock.
Yeah, I mean,
we
I
would
have to
question
watch
whether
it
you'd
now.
heard of Milk. at
How
that
can you
point.
be a podcast host and not hear of Sesame Street?
Yeah, sure.
Right, that's not
The
a thing.
letter of the day is M,
Yeah,
and we're
but,
going to talk about milk.
but oh my God, the Electric Company, 50 years old, huh? How
Yeah,
about
50
that?
years old.
Yeah, definitely a founding element of my youth. Like, Sesame Street was great. I love Sesame Street, but I mean, the thing about Sesame Street is it's very clearly thought through. Like everything about Sesame Street is like, okay, this segment has to be this long to keep
Mhm. Attention.
kids' attention, and we need to always have like there's a Muppet thing, and then there's a cartoon, and then there were no rules on the Electric Company. The Electric
Yeah.
Company was just like, we just came up with this. I have no idea whether it's going to work.
Yes.
He just
Shout
made
out.
it sense. He made sense to me. Now I understand why I like Sesame Street so much. Because it's
Yeah, well, you
designed
were
for my
programmed.
short
ADHD.
attention. No, like
You were programmed.
no, like
You were
now.
programmed to like Sesame Street.
Like I
Like,
still watch Sesame
right
Street
now.
today because of my kid,
But-
and I'm like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, but no, the Electric Company was off the rails from the moment it started,
It was
and
amazing.
it was great. Yeah,
Mhm.
I wonder. Obviously I've not watched it in 40 years, so now I have to wonder what it would be like
That-
to watch a show
Ooh.
programmed in the 70s for
So
kids as an adult.
I'm just putting this out here, Mike.
I'm gonna have to go. Look
How
up some
about-
episodes.
We have you back on
Yeah.
soon-ish, like
Yeah.
whenever works for you.
Sure.
And we all, including Zycia,
Yes, of
watch
course.
some Electric Company
On
and
it.
ruminate on it. And
I think it's
do
great.
our
I think it's great.
critique.
I do think a viewing party of the Electric Company would be fantastic.
I think that
I
that
might
should be
have-
it won't be like the regular podcast. It'll be literally
Like
here's
Mr.
what we
Science
just
Theater.
watched.
Like we're all
I am
watching-
on board. I will be singing along with everything in that show. Even though I haven't seen it for 40 years, it's all imprinted on my brain.
So chat right now
So-
is going back and forth on you said the greatest theme song of all time, and they're like, are we talking about BSG, Firefly, Mandalorian, Westworld, Cowboy
God,
Bebop?
stop it. Oh,
Oh.
stop it. Stop it. You people, seriously. Come on.
So I'll
The
have to look
Electric
into
Company.
this.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into this because Amazon Prime,
Yeah.
through of course Twitch. If it's a video,
a young local company. Here.
Startup.
yeah,
Just-
yeah,
It's a
Just
startup.
getting their
Local-
feet wet.
yeah.
Just getting their feet wet.
They do have the option that if you can stream it on Amazon Prime Video, that you can literally set up a watch party on Twitch. with it.
Yeah. Twitch.
So,
Hey.
and
I
I'll
am
have to check to see if
in.
it's one of the available because I see that they do have it on Amazon Prime Video, but I'm not sure if it's one of the ones that you can do a watch
Oh.
party with.
Absolutely. Gotta be done.
I'm seeing a gorilla talk to a woman who is clearly wearing what would be almost considered a one-piece bathing suit,
Yeah, absolutely, totally.
but more
And that-
shorts. Definitely
absolutely.
70s.
Right, like I'm saying is that like literally
Oh.
they rolled into the shop every morning and they were like, "What did you have for breakfast? Let's make it into a thing." Like it's just
You know,
Yes.
it's a lot like this
So-
podcast, if I'm being honest.
Saturday Night
is.
Live, but made for kids.
this podcast has much more adheres much more to a format than the electric.
You're
Company
welcome. It's all me. I'm the only one that tries to keep us on the rails here.
Ah.
We actually have a drinking game
Yeah.
for when we go off the rails.
did. Mm.
Yes.
With Ice, yeah.
Well, I will happily attend such a watch party should it ever materialize.
We'll have to see what we can do there.
Well, cool. Well, hey, this has been what has got our attention this week. And before we get into saying the goodbyes and stuff, I just want to say a very special thank you to Mike for joining us. I know we all have had a blast today speaking with you on different things. So before we get into that, tell us a little bit, like, how can we find out more news about, Lone Shark Games, where are you going to go, what's coming?
You can find me, Mike Selinker, on like literally one word, on Twitter and my Facebook page. Obviously, you're all welcome to come and talk to me about anything. If you want to be a part of Lone Shark, we also have all those social media accounts, but you can come be on our newsletter where we talk about cool things that we're doing. We're about to do one about this detective expansion that's just coming out, and so it's always good to be on there to find out what the new stuff that we're making is, because usually it's a bit of a surprise to everybody when we announce something. And so yeah, we would love to have you be part of our universe, so come find us.
Awesome. Well, and then shameless plug again, Friday, everyone listening, last episode of Shocktober, come watch me scream, because this one's going to be terrifying. I've been not happy about this decision since the beginning of this month. But hey, we're doing it for able gamers, so help us get to our goal. And again, no dollar is too less. Like, if $1 is all you can donate, great. If you can donate more, great. If you can't donate anything and just want to hang out, that's even more fantastic. Just come out, hang out with us, have a good time, and we'll see you guys on Friday right back here on Twitch and also YouTube. So if you want to find out more about us, sasgaming.com, also our YouTube account, sasgaming, or if you want to be something a little bit more, go to our Patreon, patreon.com/sasgaming as well. So that is it for us this week, and we appreciate it, and we'll see you guys again next week. And until
So
then,
say we all.
oh my god, he's been waiting so long. Until next time, guys, you guys take care. See ya.
Peace.